Tafua by trusting my ex, and then our /pro revenge by exposing her entire life to our small town. User, throwaway_cleanup_882 subreddit, r/true off my chest date, October 14th, 2023. I am writing this from a hotel room 3 towns over because I cannot stand to be in my own house right now. Not after last night. Everyone told me to take the high road. They told me that silence is the best revenge and that the truth always comes out eventually. They were wrong. In a town like mine, the truth doesn't just come out. You have to drag it out, kicking and screaming, and force people to look at it. My ex-fiancée, let's call her Elena, spent the last 6 months systematically dismantling my life. She turned my neighbors against me. She got me fired from a contract I had held for 5 years. She even had my own mother doubting my sanity. She painted a picture of me as a volatile controlling monster who trapped her in a cycle of abuse. It was a masterpiece of manipulation. But Elena made one critical error. She is arrogant. She thought she was smarter than me. And she forgot that before we broke up, she used my old laptop to sync her phone back up. She didn't just leave a breadcrumb trail. She left the whole damn bakery. Yesterday, I burned it all down. I need to start from the beginning so you understand why I did what I did. I am not a vindictive person by nature. I am a 32-year-old landscape architect. I keep to myself. I work hard. I thought I had found the love of my life. Elena was the kind of woman who lights up a room. She was a guidance counselor at the local high school, beloved by parents and students alike. We met 3 years ago at a charity fundraiser. She spilled red wine on my shirt, insisted on paying for dry cleaning, and we were inseparable within a week. The first year was perfect. It feels cliché to say it, but it was. She was attentive, kind, and incredibly supportive of my business. I was looking to expand into commercial contracts, and Elena was my biggest cheerleader. She proofread my proposals. She charmed potential clients at dinners. We moved in together after 10 months. The shift was subtle. It started with small comments about my friends. She would tell me that my best friend Mark made a pass at her when I was in the bathroom. I was horrified. I distanced myself from Mark. Then she claimed my mother made snide remarks about her weight. I fought with my mother. Slowly, methodically, Elena isolated me. She did it with tears in her eyes, claiming she just wanted us to be happy and safe from toxic people. I believed her. I believed every word because I was in love, and I thought she was the victim. 6 months ago, I came home early from a site visit. It was a Tuesday. I walked in and found Elena sitting at our kitchen table with a man I didn't recognize. They weren't doing anything physical, but the intimacy was undeniable. They were holding hands, heads close together, whispering. When I walked in, they jumped apart. Elena didn't panic. She didn't cry. She looked at me with cold, dead eyes and told me he was a consultant helping her with a school project. I knew it was a lie. I asked him to leave. He smirked at me and walked out. When I turned back to Elena, she launched into a tirade. She accused me of being suffocating. She said I was paranoid. She said I was controlling her interactions with male colleagues because I was insecure. We fought for hours. I slept on the couch. The next morning, I told her I needed space. I went to stay at a motel for 2 days just to clear my head. When I returned, the locks were changed. That was the beginning of the nightmare. I banged on the door. She called the police. When the officers arrived, officers I went to high school with, guys I knew, they looked at me with disgust. They told me to leave the premises or I would be arrested for domestic disturbance. I tried to explain that it was my house, my name on the deed. They said Elena had shown them photos of bruises. I froze. I have never laid a hand on a woman in my life. The thought alone makes me sick. I asked what they were talking about. They wouldn't elaborate. They just told me to get a lawyer and get lost. I stayed with my brother, the only person who still took my calls. Over the next few weeks, the rumors started reaching me. Elena wasn't just telling people we broke up. She was telling people I had beaten her for years. She said I controlled her finances. She said I tracked her car. She said the man I found in the kitchen was a crisis counselor she had called because she was afraid for her life. It was a lie so big, so audacious, that people believed it simply because they couldn't fathom someone making it up. I lost the contract with the city park renovation. My contact there, a woman I had known for a decade, sent me a stiff email saying they were going in a different direction due to character concerns. I was uninvited from my cousin's wedding. I went to the grocery store and the cashier, a girl I hired to mow lawns 2 summers ago, refused to look me in the eye and slammed my receipt on the counter. I was a pariah. I was drowning. I fell into a deep depression. I spent days staring at the ceiling, wondering how this happened. I considered moving. Just packing up my truck and driving until I hit the coast, starting over where no one knew my name. But I couldn't leave. My business, my reputation, my grandfather's house, it was all here. If I left, it was an admission of guilt. Then came the discovery. I was looking for a specific tax document in my home office. I had legally forced my way back in with a police escort to retrieve my personal effects while the lawyers fought over the eviction order she was trying to get. I was digging through a box of old electronics I had stashed in the closet, looking for a backup hard drive. I found my old MacBook Pro. It was a relic, a 2017 model I hadn't used in 2 years since I upgraded to a desktop rig for my design software. I plugged it in, thinking maybe I had saved the tax PDF there. It booted up. It connected to the Wi-Fi. And then, the notifications started rolling in. Ding. 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 Messages. Hundreds of them. I realized with a jolt that Elena had used this laptop. Her phone had broken a year ago, and she used my old laptop for a week while waiting for the replacement. She had logged into her iCloud. She never logged out. And because Apple devices are terrifyingly efficient at syncing, the laptop had just pulled down her entire message history from the last 6 months. It was all there. Every text. Every photo. Every note. My hands were shaking as I clicked on the messages icon. I saw a thread with Marco, the guy from the kitchen. Elena, he's gone. The cops just left. You should have seen his face. He actually thinks he has a chance of keeping the house. Marco, did the makeup trick work? Elena, like a charm. A little purple eyeshadow and yellow concealer on the arm. Officer Davis bought it hook, line, and sinker. I squeezed out a few tears about how scared I was. I think I'm going to file for a restraining order tomorrow just to twist the knife. I felt like I was going to vomit. I scrolled up. Elena, 3 months ago, I'm bored, Marco. He's so pathetic. He brings me flowers and asks about my day. I need excitement. I need you. Marco, leave him then. Elena, not yet. He's about to sign the city contract. Once that money hits the joint account, I'm making my move. I need a nest egg. I sat there for 4 hours. I read everything. I read the group chat with her 2 best friends, Sarah and Jen. They weren't just enabling her, they were helping her script the lies. Jen, make sure you tell people he isolated you. That's a classic buzzword. Say he didn't let you see your family. It makes the abuse sound more credible without needing physical proof. Sarah, and tell the school board he's unstable. If he loses his business license, he can't afford a good lawyer. Elena, way ahead of you. I already dropped a hint to the principal that I'm afraid he might show up at the school. They've put security on high alert. He's finished in this town. She had planned it all. The affair. The false accusations. The financial theft. She had been siphoning money from our joint savings into a private crypto account for months. I found the screenshots of the transfers in her notes app. I had the smoking gun. I had a nuclear bomb. The question was, how do I drop it? My lawyer told me to sit on it. He said we would use it in court. He said, this wins the case, Mark. Don't blow it by doing something stupid. But court takes months. My reputation was dying now. People were spitting on the ground when I walked by. I couldn't wait for a judge to bang a gavel in a closed room 6 months from now. I needed the town to see her. I needed them to see the monster beneath the mask. The annual Oak Creek Fall Festival was yesterday. It is the biggest event of the year. The whole town gathers in the square. There's a pie contest, a raffle, and live music. Elena was the head of the organizing committee. She was going to be on stage, handing out awards, basking in the adoration of the community she had manipulated. I spent 3 days editing. I didn't just take screenshots. I made a video. I compiled the text messages, the timestamps, the photos of her and Marco in bed, which she stupidly synced, and the audio clips she had sent to her friends laughing about how gullible the police were. I overlaid the text messages chronologically. I highlighted the parts where she admitted to faking the bruises. I highlighted the parts where she mocked the very people she was friends with in town. Elena, text to Jen God, Mrs. Higgins is such an old bat. I had to listen to her drone on about her cats for 20 minutes just to get her to side with me against Mark. I hope she croaks soon. Mrs. Higgins is the town matriarch. Everyone loves her. I exported the video. I put it on a flash drive. I know the guy who runs the AV setup for the festival. His name is Dave. Dave is a neutral party. He's a tech guy who doesn't care about gossip. I went to him the morning of the festival. I showed him the first 30 seconds of the video. Dave looked at me, then at the screen, then back at me. She really said that about the cops? He asked. She did, I said. And she framed me. Dave hates liars. And he hates bullies. He took the flash drive. I can't play this during the ceremony, Mark. I'll lose my job. I don't need you to play it, I said. I just need you to leave the HDMI cable for the main projector unlocked on the side of the stage. I'll do the rest. Dave nodded. I'm going on a smoke break at 7:45 p.m. Be fast. At 7:40 p.m., Elena was on stage. She looked radiant. She was wearing a white dress, playing the innocent angel to perfection. She was giving a speech about resilience and overcoming trauma. She actually used the word survivor. The audacity was breathtaking. The crowd was clapping. I saw people wiping tears. I was standing in the shadows by the AV tent. I was wearing a hoodie. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it would crack my ribs. At 7:45 p.m., Dave walked away. I slipped into the tent. I plugged my laptop into the HDMI cable. I overrode the feed. The giant projection screen behind the stage, which was currently displaying the festival logo, flickered. Then it went black. A silence fell over the crowd. Elena turned around, confused. "Oh, looks like we have a technical difficulty," she laughed into the microphone. "Dave." Then, my video started. It didn't start with sound. It started with a massive high-resolution screenshot of the text message she sent the night she kicked me out. "Elena, he's crying outside. It's pathetic. I almost feel bad. LOL, just kidding. I'm going to tell the cops he pushed me." The crowd murmured. You could hear the confusion rippling through the square. "What is this?" someone whispered. Elena froze. She stared at the screen. Then, the audio kicked in. It was a voice note she sent to Marco. "Babe, you have to stop texting me while I'm at school. But yeah, the plan is working. Everyone thinks he's a psycho. I have the principal eating out of my hand. I'm going to get the house, the car, and half his business assets. He's too depressed to fight back." Her voice boom echoed across the square. It was unmistakable. The cheerful, syrupy tone she used was gone, replaced by a cold, mocking sneer. On stage, Elena dropped the microphone. It made a loud screech of feedback that made everyone wince. She looked like a deer in headlights. She looked at the screen, then at the crowd. I kept the video playing. The screen flashed to the texts about Mrs. Higgins. Then to texts about her best friend Sarah, calling her a desperate hanger-on who needs to lose 20 pounds. Then to texts about the mayor, calling him a useful idiot. She had insulted everyone. She had documented her own sociopathy. The crowd went from confused to horrified to furious in the span of 60 seconds. Elena tried to run. She actually tried to sprint off the stage. But the crowd was dense. She was blocked. "Turn it off," she screamed. "It's fake. It's AI. He made it up." But then the video showed a video she had taken. It was a selfie video of her and Marco in my bed, drinking my scotch. In the video, she holds up the bottle and says, "Cheers to Mark. Thanks for the liquor, loser." That was the nail in the coffin. I stepped out of the tent. I pulled my hood down. I walked toward the stage. The crowd parted for me. It was like Moses and the Red Sea. People looked at me with wide eyes. Some looked ashamed. Some looked shocked. I didn't say a word. I just stood at the base of the stairs and looked up at her. She was hyperventilating. She looked at me, and for the first time in 6 months, I saw fear in her eyes. Real fear. Not the fake victim fear she performed for the cops. "Mark," she stammered. "Mark, please." "You forgot to log out of the laptop," I said. My voice wasn't loud, but in the silence of the square, it carried. She looked at the screen, where the video was now looping the text. "I'm going to file a restraining order just to twist the knife." The police chief, who was in the front row, walked up the stairs. He didn't look happy. He looked like a man who realized he had been played for a fool. "Elena," he said, "we need to have a conversation." She started sobbing. Real, ugly sobbing. She looked for her friends, Sarah and Jen. But I saw them in the crowd. They were staring at their phones, likely reading the texts I had just exposed where Elena mocked them. They didn't move to help her. I turned around and walked away. I didn't stay to watch the arrest. I didn't stay to accept the apologies that I knew would come. I got in my truck and drove to this hotel. My phone has been blowing up for 12 hours. 400 messages. Calls from my mom, crying. Calls from the mayor. Calls from clients who fired me, begging for me to come back. I haven't answered a single one. I am drinking a cheap beer and watching the sunrise. I feel empty. I don't feel happy. Revenge doesn't feel like triumph. It feels like exhaustion. But I have my name back. And Elena? I checked the local news site 10 minutes ago. She's been charged with filing a false police report, fraud, and there is talk of embezzlement regarding the school funds she managed. She wanted to be the center of attention. Now she is. I'm going to sleep now. Tomorrow, I have to go back and face the wreckage. But for tonight, I'm just a guy in a hotel room, and for the first time in 6 months, nobody thinks I'm a monster. Update 1 date, October 18th, 2023. It has been 4 days since the reveal, as my brother is calling it. I finally went back to Oak Creek yesterday. The atmosphere in town is bizarre. When I drove my truck down Main Street, people stopped walking. They waved. A guy I barely know, who runs the hardware store, literally gave me a salute. It is unsettling. Last week, these same people crossed the street to avoid me. Now I am some sort of folk hero. It makes me realize how fickle public opinion is. They didn't start liking me again because they examined the evidence and came to a rational conclusion. They flipped because the spectacle was undeniable. I went to my lawyer's office first. He was furious, but also trying not to laugh. "You could have exposed yourself to liability," he scolded me, trying to look stern. But, God, that was effective. The DA called. "They are dropping everything against you. The restraining order is void." We sat down and went through the legal fallout. It is extensive. Elena is currently out on bail, staying with her parents in the next county. She has been fired from the school. Obviously. You can't have a guidance counselor who is on video mocking special needs kids. Yes, that was in the text dump too. I just didn't mention it in the first post because it made me too angry. But here is the tea you guys actually want. I went to the grocery store. The same cashier who slammed my receipt last time. She saw me coming and turned bright red. She abandoned her register and ran to the break room. The manager came out. He shook my hand. "Mark, I am so sorry," he said. She was just very convincing. "It's okay, Bob," I said. "Just let me buy my milk." The most satisfying interaction, however, was with Marco. I was filling up my truck at the gas station. A black BMW pulled up to the pump opposite me. It was him. The consultant. The guy who smirked at me while wrecking my home. He saw me. He froze with the nozzle in his hand. He looks different when he isn't protected by a web of lies. He looked tired. I assume his wife found out. Yes, he is married. That was another detail I made sure to include in the video. The texts where Elena asked him, "Does your wife suspect anything?" And he replied, "She's clueless." Just like Mark. I didn't say anything. I just leaned against my truck and stared at him. He put the nozzle back, didn't even pump any gas, got in his car, and peeled out of the station. Coward. My mother is a mess. She feels incredibly guilty for doubting me. She came over last night with a lasagna and cried for an hour. She was just so sweet, Mark. She cried so real. I know, Mom, I said. That's what sociopaths do. We ate the lasagna. We are okay. I have decided not to sue the police department. My lawyer thinks we could, but I just want this to be over. The chief invited me for coffee. He apologized man to man. He said, in 20 years, I've never seen someone manipulate the system that well. She played us all. He admitted they should have investigated further before taking her word as gospel. It is a hollow victory, but it is a victory. Elena's friends, Jen and Sarah, have gone dark. They deleted their social media accounts. Apparently, the town turned on them just as hard. Being exposed as accomplices to a false abuse allegation is not a good look. Jen works at the bank. I heard a rumor she has been put on administrative leave pending an investigation into ethics. I am starting to get my clients back. The city park contract is gone. They already signed with another firm, but private clients are calling. My reputation is scarred, but it is healing. The only thing I am struggling with is the trust. I look at people now, people smiling, people being nice, and I wonder what they are hiding. I wonder if the nice girl at the bakery is secretly plotting to ruin someone. I wonder if my neighbor is spying on me. Elena didn't just take 6 months of my life. She took my ability to believe in the inherent goodness of people. I hope that comes back. I will update if anything major happens with the legal case. For now, I am just enjoying the silence of my empty house. It is lonely, but it is peaceful. And nobody is gaslighting me in it. Update to date, November 10th, 2023. I didn't think I would be back here so soon, but things have escalated in a way I did not anticipate. Elena is pleading not guilty. Her lawyer is claiming that the text messages were fabricated. He is claiming that I hacked her account and used deepfake technology to create the voice notes and the video. He is doubling down. It is insanity. The digital forensics are clear. The metadata is clear. But she is a narcissist, and narcissists never admit defeat. They just rewrite reality. Because of her plea, we have to go to depositions. I had to sit across a conference table from her yesterday. It was the first time I had been in a room with her since the night on the stage. She looks terrible. She has lost weight. Her hair is dull. She wasn't wearing makeup. She was wearing a gray cardigan that looked 2 sizes too big, a calculated move to look frail and sympathetic. She refused to look at me. She stared at the table. Her lawyer, a slimeball named Rick who specializes in getting drunk drivers off the hook, started grilling me. Mr. Thompson, do you have a background in computer editing? I'm a landscape architect, I said. But you use design software. Photoshop? CAD. Yes. So you have the skills to manipulate images? I design gardens, Rick. I don't fake iPhone metadata. He kept pushing. He tried to suggest that I was the abusive one and that I had planted the laptop. He tried to suggest that Marco was actually my friend and we conspired to frame Elena. It was a conspiracy theory so wild it belonged on a flat earth forum. Then, the door opened. My lawyer had subpoenaed Marco. Marco walked in. He looked even worse than Elena. He had a black eye, fresh. I learned later his brother-in-law gave it to him after finding out he cheated on his sister. Rick looked nervous. We didn't call him. We did, my lawyer said. Marco sat down. He looked at Elena. Elena finally looked up. She gave him a look that was pure desperation. She was silently begging him to hold the line. State your name, the court reporter said. Marco Vancic. Mr. Vancic, my lawyer said. Did you have a sexual relationship with Elena while she was living with Mark? Marco looked at Elena. Then he looked at me. Then he looked at his hands. Yes, he said. Elena let out a gasp. Marco. And my lawyer continued. Did you exchange messages with her regarding a plan to falsely accuse Mark of domestic violence to secure possession of his home? Rick jumped up. Objection. Leading. I'm just asking if the texts are real, Marco, my lawyer said calmly. You are under oath. Perjury is a felony. We have the logs. If you lie, you go to jail. If you tell the truth, you're just a witness. Marco crumbled. It was instant. He had no loyalty to her. He was a survivor, a rat fleeing a sinking ship. They're real, Marco whispered. All of them. She planned it. She told me to hit her so she would have bruises, but I wouldn't do it, so she used makeup. She practiced the crying in the mirror. The room went silent. Elena stood up. She slammed her hands on the table. You coward. You said you loved me. You ruined my life. Marco shouted back, standing up. My wife left me. I lost my job. You told me it was a sure thing. You told me he was weak. He is weak. Elena screamed, pointing at me. Look at him. He's nothing. I made him interesting. The court reporter was typing furiously. My lawyer just sat back and smiled. Rick, Elena's lawyer, put his head in his hands. I think we're done here, my lawyer said. Elena was escorted out by the bailiff because she wouldn't stop screaming at Marco. She wasn't screaming that she was innocent. She was screaming that the plan failed because everyone else was incompetent. That is the mind of a narcissist. It's never their fault. It's just a failure of the supporting cast. After the deposition, Rick approached us. We want to discuss a plea deal. No deals, I said. My lawyer put a hand on my arm. Mark, listen. No, I said. She tried to put me in prison. She tried to destroy my life. I want a trial. I want a jury to hear Marco say that she practiced crying in the mirror. Rick looked at me. She has no money, Mark. If you sue her for damages, you'll get nothing. She's bankrupt. I don't want her money, I said. I want her record to say guilty. We are going to trial in February. In other news, I have started therapy. My therapist is a stern older woman who doesn't buy my I'm fine act. She told me I have PTSD. I laughed, but then I realized I check the locks on my doors 5 times a night and I record every phone call I have. So, maybe she's right. I also ran into Mrs. Higgins at the post office. The old lady Elena called an old bat. She walked up to me with her cane. She is 80 years old and terrifying. Mark, she said. Mrs. Higgins, I nodded. I saw the video, she said. The text about me. I'm sorry you had to see that, I said. She cackled. A dry, rasping sound. Oh, honey. I've been called worse by better women than her. But I appreciate you showing me. I was going to leave my estate to the Historical Society, and she was the treasurer. I've changed my will. She winked at me and hobbled away. Small towns. They remember everything. Update 3 date, February 28, 2024. The trial is over. It lasted 3 days. It should have been a slam dunk, but watching the legal system work is agonizingly slow. Elena arrived at court every day dressed like a nun. High necklines, no makeup, glasses she doesn't need. She played the part of the confused, victimized woman to the end. Her defense strategy shifted from "it's fake" to "I was mentally unstable and Mark drove me to it." They tried to argue that my emotional distance was a form of abuse that caused her to have a dissociative break, where she invented a reality to cope. It was insulting. It was a slap in the face to actual victims of abuse. But the jury didn't buy it. The prosecutor was a shark. She played the audio clips. She put Marco on the stand. Marco was humiliated, but he stuck to the truth. He detailed the timeline. He detailed the night she called the police. Prosecutor, Mr. Vancic, where were you when Elena called 911? Marco, I was in the car, parked down the street. She told me to wait there so I could pick her up after the police took Mark away. Prosecutor, and was she injured? Marco, no. She was laughing when she got in the car. She said, performance of a lifetime. The jury gasped. I looked at Elena. She was staring straight ahead, jaw clenched. When the verdict came in, I wasn't in the room. I was in the hallway, pacing. I couldn't handle the tension. My brother came out and grabbed my shoulders. Guilty, he said. All counts. Filing a false police report. Perjury. Fraud. She was sentenced today. The judge was not lenient. He gave her 3 years. In our state, that's heavy for a first-time offender, but the judge cited the malicious and calculated nature of the crime and the waste of police resources. She has to pay restitution, which she can't afford, so her wages will be garnished for the rest of her life once she gets out. I watched them cuff her. I thought I would feel happy. I thought I would want to cheer. I just felt tired. As they led her out, she finally looked at me. She stopped. The bailiff tugged her arm, but she resisted. "You'll never be happy," she hissed at me. "You're broken, Mark. I broke you." "Maybe," I said. "But I'm free." She was dragged away. I walked out of the courthouse. It was raining. I know, pathetic fallacy, but it was actually raining. There were a few reporters, local news mostly. I ignored them. I went to my truck. There was a note on the windshield. I flinched. I thought it was a threat. I thought it was from one of her lingering supporters. I opened it. It was from Jen, her ex-best friend. "Mark, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I am so sorry. I was jealous of her, and I wanted to be part of the cool group, so I went along with it. I lost my job at the bank. My husband left me. I am seeing a therapist. I just wanted to say I am sorry." I crumpled the note and threw it in the trash. I don't care about Jen's redemption arc. She watched me drown and handed Elena a hose. I drove home. I ordered a pizza. I sat on my couch, the couch where I slept the night before she kicked me out. I realized something. The house felt different. For the last 6 months, it felt like a crime scene. It felt like her house that I was squatting in. Tonight, it felt like mine. I am going to renovate. I'm going to rip out the kitchen where she sat with Marco. I'm going to repaint the bedroom. I'm going to burn the mattress. I am 33 now. I have a lot of work to do. But the tumor is gone. Thank you, Reddit, for letting me vent. Thank you for the advice on preserving digital evidence. If there is one lesson to take from this, it is this: cloud backups are forever. And if you are going to frame someone for a felony, make sure you sign out of iMessage. Update 4 Final date, August 15th, 2024. I didn't plan on writing again, but something happened last week that felt like the real ending to this story. It has been 6 months since the sentencing. Elena is in a minimum security facility upstate. I haven't heard a word from her, obviously. I finished the kitchen renovation. It looks great. Modern, open concept. No ghosts. My business is thriving. In fact, the notoriety actually helped in a weird way. People realized that if I could document a complex legal defense with that level of precision, I could probably manage a landscaping project pretty well. I have a wait list for the first time in years. But that's not the update. I was at the hardware store last Tuesday. I was buying lumber for a deck project. I turned the corner in the lumber aisle and bumped into a woman. We both dropped our stuff. "I'm so sorry," I said, bending down to pick up a box of screws. "No, my fault, I wasn't looking," she said. I looked up. It was Sarah, the other best friend. The one who told Elena to claim I was unstable. I hadn't seen her since the festival. She looked normal. She wasn't hiding. She looked at me and froze. She turned pale. "Mark," she said. I stood up. I am 6'2". She is 5'4". She looked small. "Sarah," I said. She swallowed hard. I heard you won the trial. Congrats." "Thanks," I said. I moved to step around her. "Wait," she said. I stopped. "What?" "I wanted to tell you something," she said. Her voice was shaking. "The night of the festival? After the video played? I drove Elena home. I waited. She didn't cry," Sarah said. "She didn't panic. She sat in the passenger seat and she laughed. I felt a chill go down my spine. She laughed. Yes, Sarah said. She said, well, at least they'll remember me. That's when I knew. That's when I knew we were just props to her. I blocked her number that night. I testified for the prosecution during the sentencing hearing. I don't know if you knew that. I didn't know that. I hadn't attended the sentencing hearing, only the trial verdict. Okay, I said. I know you hate us, Sarah said. And you should. But I just wanted you to know that she scares me too. I'm glad she's gone. Me too, I said. I walked away. I realized then that Elena didn't just abuse me. She abused everyone. She was a black hole that sucked in light and energy and twisted it. Jen and Sarah were weak, yes. They were complicit, yes. But they were also victims in their own way. They were colonized by her personality. I paid for my lumber. As I was walking out to my truck, I saw the sheriff. He waved at me. "Hey Mark," he called out. "You coming to the fall festival this year?" I stopped. The fall festival. The scene of the crime. I thought about it. I thought about hiding. I thought about staying home and avoiding the stairs. "Yeah," I said. "I'll be there." "Good man," the sheriff said. "No unauthorized videos this time, though?" "Only if everyone behaves," I said. He laughed. I got in my truck. I rolled the windows down. The air smelled like pine and asphalt. It smelled like summer ending. I am dating again. Just coffee. Nothing serious. Her name is Claire. She's a librarian. She doesn't have social media. We take it slow. She knows the story, everyone knows the story, but she didn't ask about. I helped my best friend rebuild his life after a divorce, then he tried to steal my wife behind my back. I am writing this from a hotel room because I cannot stand to be in my own house right now. The air in my living room still feels thick with his cologne. Every time I look at the guest room door, I feel a violent urge to put my fist through the drywall. This is not a request for advice. I know what I have to do. I have already done the hardest part. This is a warning. If you have a friend who is always the victim, who always needs saving, who tells you that you are the only one who understands them, run. Do not let them in. Do not give them a key. Do not let them near the people you love. My best friend Dave did not just try to sleep with my wife. He tried to become me. He tried to dismantle my life brick by brick and reassemble it with himself in the center. And the most terrifying part is not that he did it. The terrifying part is how long it took me to notice. I have known Dave for 20 years. We met in middle school. He was the charismatic kid who could talk his way out of detention. I was the quiet one who helped him with his math homework. It was a dynamic that lasted into our 30s. I was the structure. He was the chaos. I was the safety net. He was the trapeze artist. When he got fired from his sales job in 2018, I loaned him money for rent. When he got a DUI in 2020, I was the one who picked him up from the station at 3 in the morning because he was too ashamed to call his parents. I thought that was what friendship was. You show up. You help. You carry the load. I was wrong. That is not friendship. That is being a host to a parasite. My life was good before 6 months ago. I have been married to Sarah for 5 years. Sarah is the kind of woman who remembers your mother's birthday and brings soup to sick neighbors. She is soft-hearted and conflict avoidant. She assumes the best in people. It is her best quality and her most dangerous vulnerability. We have a house in the suburbs. We were talking about trying for a baby. We were happy. Then Dave's marriage imploded. He showed up at my door on a Tuesday night in November. It was raining, but I won't bore you with the atmosphere. He looked wrecked. He was soaking wet, holding a duffel bag, his eyes red-rimmed. He told me his wife, Emily, had kicked him out. He said she was cheating on him. He said she had been gaslighting him for months, drained their joint account, and threw him on the street. He cried in my kitchen. He sobbed into his hands, shaking, telling me I was the only person in the world he could trust. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He was my brother in everything but blood. I looked at Sarah. She had that pained, sympathetic look on her face. I knew what she was thinking before she said it. We had the space. We had the guest room. We couldn't leave him on the street. Stay here, I told him. As long as you need. That was the first nail in my own coffin. The first month was pathetic. That is the only word for it. Dave was a ghost. He slept until noon. He sat on my couch in his sweatpants, staring at the TV, drinking my beer. He oscillated between rage at Emily and deep, dark depression. Sarah was a saint. She cooked extra food for him. She did his laundry because he didn't have the energy to figure out our machine. She listened to him loop through the same 3 stories about how Emily had wronged him. I felt good about it. I felt like a good friend. I was the protector. I was providing sanctuary. I ignored the small red flags because I was focused on the crisis. The first red flag was the money. Dave had a job, he works in logistics, but he claimed Emily had frozen his assets. He never offered a dime for groceries. He never offered to pay for the extra utilities. He ordered takeout on my DoorDash account and forgot to Venmo me. I let it slide. He was going through a divorce. I wasn't going to be the guy counting pennies while his friend's life fell apart. The shift happened in the 3rd month. Dave started going to the gym. He cut his hair. He bought new clothes using a credit card he had suddenly rediscovered. He stopped looking like a victim and started looking like a predator. But he didn't move out. Whenever I brought up apartments, he had an excuse. The credit check failed. The deposit was too high. The location was bad. He needed just a few more weeks to get back on his feet. He started integrating himself into our routine. It wasn't just that he lived there. He became a third wheel in our marriage. If Sarah and I sat down to watch a movie, Dave was there with popcorn, sitting on the other end of the sectional. If we planned a hike for Saturday morning, Dave was up early, laced into his boots, asking what time we were leaving. It felt petty to say no. How do you tell your depressed, divorcing best friend that he can't come for a walk? Then the subtle undermining began. It was never direct. It was always wrapped in a joke. A nudge. A wink. One night at dinner, I was talking about a project at work. I'm an actuary. It's not thrilling, but it pays the mortgage. I was explaining a risk model I was building. Dave yawned. A loud, exaggerated yawn. He looked at Sarah and grinned. God, I don't know how you do it, Sar. I'm falling asleep just listening to him. Mark, buddy, you're boring us to death. Sarah gave a polite, awkward laugh. It's interesting to him, Dave. I'm just teasing, Dave said, holding up his hands. We all know Mark is the stable one. The safe option. Someone has to be the boring, responsible one, right? He emphasized the word safe like it was an insult. Like it meant coward. I brushed it off. I told myself he was just insecure because his life was chaos and mine was ordered. I was being the bigger man. A week later, I came home from work and found them in the kitchen. Sarah was laughing. A real, deep belly laugh. I hadn't heard her laugh like that in a while because work had been stressful for her. Dave was leaning against the counter, holding a glass of wine. He was telling a story. He looked vibrant. Charming. When I walked in, the laughter stopped. Hey, Dave said. The fun police is here. I'm not the fun police, I said, putting my keys down. I'm just tired. See? Dave said to Sarah. Always tired. You need more excitement in your life, Sarah. You're too young to live like a retiree. Sarah looked down at her wine glass. Mark works hard, Dave. I know, Dave said. I'm just saying. You used to be wild. Remember that story you told me about Cabo? That girl is still in there somewhere. I didn't know he knew about Cabo. I didn't know they were sharing stories like that. I felt a prick of irritation, but I swallowed it. I didn't want to be the jealous husband. I trusted Sarah. But Dave kept pushing. He started mirroring me. He bought the same cologne I wore. He started listening to the bands I liked, playing them loudly on the living room speakers when I wasn't home. He started buying Sarah's favorite snacks, the specific expensive dark chocolate she likes, and leaving them on the counter with sticky notes that said for a bad day. He was doing the things I should have been doing, but he was doing them with a performance attached. The gym arc was the worst. Dave got ripped. Fast. He was obsessive about it. He started walking around the house without a shirt on. I would come downstairs on a Saturday morning to make coffee, and he would be in the kitchen, shirtless, flexing while he made a protein shake. Put a shirt on, man, I said one morning. Sarah is eating breakfast. Dave laughed. Jealous, Mark. It's just skin. Sarah's seen a chest before. Probably not one this defined in a while though, huh? He winked at her. Sarah turned bright red. She looked at her toast. Dave, please go put a shirt on. All right. Tough crowd. He sauntered out, but the air in the room felt charged. Uncomfortable. I confronted Sarah that night. Does he make you uncomfortable? He's just A lot, Sarah said. He's going through a midlife crisis or something. He needs validation. I just try to ignore it. I think he should leave, I said. Sarah sighed. He said he found a place available on the 1st of the month. That's 10 days away. Let's just ride it out. I don't want to cause a scene and lose your best friend over a few awkward jokes. She was trying to protect me. She was trying to protect my friendship. She didn't realize that the friend was already gone. The tipping point was the work trip. I had a conference in Chicago scheduled for 3 days. I had been dreading it. Leaving Sarah alone with him felt wrong, even though I trusted her. I trusted her, but I didn't trust the situation. I didn't trust the relentless pressure he was applying. 2 days before the trip, Dave was acting strange. Giddy. He kept asking about my flight details. When do you land? When do you leave? You taking an Uber to the airport? It felt predatory. I decided to test him. I am not proud of this. I know people say you shouldn't snoop, but my gut was screaming at me. Dave had an iPad that he left on the coffee table constantly. He usually kept it locked, but I had seen him type the passcode a dozen times. 1-2-3-4-5-6. The idiot didn't even try. The night before my flight, he went out to pick up pizza. I picked up the iPad. I opened his messages. My stomach dropped so hard I felt nauseous. There was a thread with a guy named Mikey from his gym. Dave, he's leaving for Chicago tomorrow. 3 days. Free reign. Mikey, you gonna make the move? Dave, bro, the groundwork is laid. She's so bored with him. I've been feeding her wine and sympathy for weeks. She eats it up. She looks at me like I'm the only guy who really sees her. Mikey, what about Mark? Dave, Mark is a doormat. He won't do anything. He'll probably thank me for spicing up his marriage. Besides, he doesn't deserve her. He treats her like a roommate. I treat her like a woman. Dave, she wants it. I can tell. I walked in on her doing yoga yesterday and she didn't even cover up. She wants the alpha, not the provider. I took screenshots. I sent them to my phone. I deleted the evidence from the sent folder. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the tablet. He wasn't just a bad houseguest. He was actively campaigning to destroy my marriage. He saw my wife as a conquest. He saw me as an obstacle to be mocked. When he came back with the pizza, I acted normal. It was the hardest acting performance of my life. I watched him eat a slice of pepperoni, chewing with his mouth open, talking about how great the gym session was. I wanted to smash his face into the plate. But I needed to catch him. I needed Sarah to see it. If I confronted him now, he would spin it. He would say it was locker room talk. He would say he was joking. He would gaslight Sarah into thinking I was crazy and controlling. I needed undeniable proof. I went to the airport the next morning. I checked in. I went through security. I waited at the gate until everyone boarded. Then I turned around and walked out. I took a cab back to the city, but I didn't go home. I checked into a motel 5 miles away. I waited. I had installed a camera in the living room 3 months ago to watch our dog Buster, when we were at work. Dave knew about it. He knew the little black circle on the bookshelf. What he didn't know was that I had bought a second one. A small, nondescript cube that looked like a USB charger. I had plugged it into the outlet in the kitchen island facing the living room. I sat in that motel room, staring at my phone screen. The feed was boring for hours. Sarah came home from work at 5:30. She fed the dog. She poured a glass of wine and started making dinner. Dave came in at 6 o'clock. He was wearing a button-down shirt, sleeves rolled up. He had a bottle of wine. I watched him pour her a glass. I watched him lean against the counter, invading her personal space. I turned up the volume on my phone. "You look tense, Sar," Dave said. His voice was low. "Mark leaving you with all the chores again?" "He's working, Dave," Sarah said, chopping vegetables. She sounded tired. "He's not on vacation." I know. But he leaves you alone a lot. If I had a woman like you, I wouldn't be flying to Chicago. I'd be home every night." "Okay, stop," Sarah said. She put the knife down. "You've been saying stuff like that for weeks. It's weird. Is it weird to tell the truth? Dave moved closer. He was right behind her now. I see you, Sarah. I see how lonely you are. Mark is a good guy, but he's vanilla. You need fire. You need someone who challenges you. I don't need to be challenged. I need to make dinner. Please move. Come on, Dave said. He reached out and touched her arm. She flinched. Don't pull away. You feel it too. The tension. It's been electric in this house since I got here. The tension is because you are living in my house and refusing to leave, Sarah snapped. She stepped away from him. Is that really it? Dave laughed. Or are you afraid of what would happen if you let your guard down? Mark's gone. No one is watching. Just one drink. Let's just sit on the couch and talk. Really talk. He cornered her against the fridge. That was it. I wasn't waiting for him to touch her again. I wasn't waiting for her to fight him off. I knew my wife. I saw the fear in her eyes on that tiny screen. I left the motel. I drove home. I broke every speed limit on the way. When I pulled into the driveway, the house was dark except for the kitchen light. I unlocked the front door quietly. I heard shouting. Get away from me. It was Sarah. Stop being a prude, Sarah. You've been flaunting it for months. Dave's voice. Angry. Entitled. I walked into the kitchen. Dave had Sarah backed into the corner near the pantry. He had one hand on the wall next to her head. She was pushing at his chest, trying to shove him away. Get the hell away from my wife, I said. The silence was absolute. Dave spun around. His face went through a complex gymnastics routine, shock, fear, and then instantly, a mask of calm amusement. Mark. He threw his hands up. You're back. Buddy, thank God. She's been drinking. She got a little emotional. I was just trying to calm her down. I looked at Sarah. She was trembling. She looked terrified. He tried to kiss me, she whispered. He wouldn't let me leave. Whoa, Sarah, let's not rewrite history, Dave said, his voice smooth, reasonable. You were crying about Mark being gone. I gave you a hug. You leaned in. I stopped it. I told you, I can't do this to Mark. Don't turn this around on me just because he walked in. He was doing it right in front of me. He was rewriting reality in real time. He was so confident, so practiced. If I hadn't seen the texts, if I hadn't watched the camera feed, if I didn't know exactly who he was, I might have hesitated. I might have wondered if there was a misunderstanding. That is the horror of a narcissist. They make you doubt your own eyes. I walked up to him. I am not a violent man. I have never been in a fistfight in my life. But in that moment, the rage was cold and sharp. I saw the texts to Mikey, I said. Dave's face froze. The mask slipped. For a second, I saw the rat underneath. I saw the messages, Dave. She wants the alpha. Mark is a doormat. Free reign. I took a step closer. He took a step back. I have cameras, I said. I watched you corner her. I heard everything you said. I have it all recorded. Dave looked at the ceiling, scanning for the camera. When he looked back at me, the charm was gone. The friendship was gone. There was only malice. You spied on me, he sneered. That's illegal, Mark. That's an invasion of privacy. It's my house, I said. Get out. You can't just kick me out. I have tenant rights. I've been here for 3 months. I have mail coming here. He was smiling. He thought he had me. He thought he could use the law to bully me into letting him stay, to keep playing his sick game. I don't care about the law, I said. You are leaving tonight. Or I am sending that video to Emily. I'm sending it to your boss. I'm sending it to your parents. I will post it on Facebook and tag every single person in our graduating class. I will scorch the earth, Dave. I will ruin you so thoroughly you will have to change your name to get a job at McDonald's. The threat worked. Narcissists don't care about hurting people, but they care about their reputation. They care about their mask. You're a psycho, he muttered. I was doing you a favor. She's miserable, you know. She told me. Get Out. He went to the guest room. I followed him. I watched him shove his clothes into his duffel bag. He didn't fold anything. He was frantic. He kept muttering under his breath about how ungrateful I was, how I was overreacting, how Sarah was a tease. I marched him to the front door. Sarah was standing in the hallway, hugging herself, crying silently. Dave stopped at the door. He looked at me, then looked at Sarah. "You're going to be bored for the rest of your life," he said to her. "He's a loser, Sarah. You know it." I shoved him. I put my hands on his chest and I shoved him hard. He stumbled back onto the porch. "Don't ever come back," I said. "If I see your car on this street, I'm calling the police." I slammed the door. I locked the deadbolt. I put the chain on. Then I turned around and looked at my wife. We didn't speak for a long time. She just collapsed into my arms. We sat on the floor of the hallway, holding each other. She smelled like fear and wine. I smelled like airport coffee and sweat. We spent the next 3 hours cleaning. It was manic. We stripped the bed in the guest room. We threw the sheets in the trash. Not the wash, the trash. We wiped down the counters. We vacuumed the rugs. We wanted to scrub him out of the house. At 2 a.m., we finally sat down. "Did you believe him?" Sarah asked. Her voice was small. "When he said I came on to him?" "No," I said. "Not for a second." "I felt like I was going crazy," she said. "He was so subtle at first. He made me feel like I was being mean if I didn't listen to him. He made me feel guilty for being happy when he was so sad. And then he started twisting things. He'd say you said things about me. That you complained about my cooking. That you thought I was gaining weight." "I never said those things," I told her. "I know. But in the moment, he was so convincing." That was the theft he attempted. He didn't just try to steal her body. He tried to steal her trust in me. He tried to steal the reality of our marriage and replace it with a fiction where he was the hero and I was the villain. The next day, I called a locksmith. We had every lock in the house changed. I installed a Ring doorbell. I filed a police report, just to have a paper trail, documenting the harassment and the refusal to leave until threatened. I also called Emily. It was a short conversation. "Dave tried to sleep with Sarah," I said. I kicked him out. There was a long silence on the other end. Then a heavy sigh. "I'm sorry, Mark," she said. "I warned you. I didn't say it explicitly, but I tried to tell you. He does this. He needs to be the center of attention. If he can't be the best husband, he has to be the victim. If he can't be the victim, he has to be the homewrecker. He can't stand to see other people stable." "Is that why you left him?" "I left him because he slept with my sister," Emily said. My jaw hit the floor. He had told me she cheated. He had cried real tears about her betrayal. And the whole time, he was the one who had nuked his own life. "He told me you cheated," I said. "Of course he did," she laughed, a bitter, dry sound. "Dave never does anything wrong. The world just happens to him." It has been 3 days. Sarah and I are fragile. We are okay, but we are bruised. We talk a lot. We are examining every interaction we had with him, dissecting the manipulation, realizing how many times he played us against each other. It's like recovering from a cult. I am angry at him, yes. But I am also angry at myself. I let him in. I ignored the gut feelings. I prioritized being a good guy over protecting my home. I let my desire to be a savior blind me to the fact that I was inviting a wolf into the sheep pen. I realized something sitting in this hotel room. I took a night away just to clear my head, to write this, to decompress without Sarah watching me pace. The person I mourned, the best friend from high school, the guy I laughed with, the guy I trusted, he never existed. Or if he did, he died a long time ago. The man who lived in my house was a hollow shell who fed on other people's happiness to fill his own void. He wanted my wife not because he loved her, but because she was mine. He wanted my life not because he wanted to build it, but because he wanted to take it. I blocked his number. I blocked his social media. I told our mutual friends that if they share information about me with him, I will cut them off too. I am burning the bridge and salting the earth on the other side. If you have a friend who drains you, who makes you feel guilty for your success, who whispers poison in your ear about the people you love, cut them loose. It doesn't matter how long you've known them. It doesn't matter how much history you have. History is just time. It's not a suicide pact. I'm going home to my wife now. We have a lot of work to do. But at least the house is finally ours again. Update 1. Since posting this, I've had a lot of people asking about the legal side and if he's tried to come back. He hasn't come back to the house. The threat of the video seems to be holding. However, he has started a smear campaign online. I woke up this morning to texts from 3 different college friends. Dave made a long Facebook post, restricted so I couldn't see it, but screenshots travel fast. In his version of the story, I am an abusive husband. He claims he intervened to protect Sarah, and I kicked him out in a jealous rage because I knew he exposed my true colors. He claims Sarah is terrified of me and that he is looking for a lawyer to help her get out. It is breathtaking. The sheer commitment to the lie is almost impressive. He is using my own anger against me. He's saying, "Look how angry Mark is. That proves he's dangerous." I showed Sarah the post. She turned pale. Then she got angry. Real angry. She wrote her own post. She didn't tag him. She just wrote, "I am safe. I am happy. I am exactly where I want to be." If anyone tells you otherwise, ask yourself what they have to gain by lying. My husband is my rock. Anyone who tries to break that rock is going to get hurt. She tagged me. She posted a picture of us from this morning, drinking coffee, looking tired but united. Dave's post was deleted an hour later. We are meeting with a lawyer tomorrow to draft a cease and desist. I am done playing nice. I am done being the boring, safe option. If he wants a war, he's going to find out that the stable, quiet guys are the ones you really don't want to mess with. We plan. We prepare. And we don't miss. I'll update if anything major happens, but for now, we are locking down. Thanks for reading. Watch your back. The snakes aren't always in the grass. Sometimes they're sleeping in your guest room. I am sitting in a motel room 3 miles from the house I bought 2 years ago. My phone has rung 40 times in the last hour. I have blocked everyone except my lawyer and my doctor. I need to get this down in writing because my mind is fracturing and I need to remember exactly how I got here. 3 days ago, my wife Sarah watched a neurosurgeon point to a screen and outline exactly how close I was to permanent paralysis. She did not cry. She did not apologize. She just looked at the floor while her entire narrative about my laziness evaporated in a sterile white room. But that was the end. I need to start at the beginning. I work as a high-voltage line technician. It is dangerous work. It is heavy work. You climb, you haul gear, and you manipulate heavy cabling in terrible conditions. I take pride in it. I make good money, enough that Sarah could go part-time at her marketing firm. We had a plan. We were going to pay off the house in 5 years. We were going to start a family. We were a team. Or so I thought. 6 months ago, a storm system tore through the county. We were on mandatory overtime for 3 weeks straight. I was exhausted. I was running on caffeine and adrenaline. I was up a pole, securing a transformer that had shifted. My boot slipped on a slick step bolt. I didn't fall to the ground. That might have been better. Instead, I jerked violently to catch myself, twisting my torso while holding about 60 pounds of gear. I felt a pop. It wasn't a sound. It was a sensation. It felt like a guitar string snapping deep inside my lower back, followed immediately by a sensation of hot oil being poured down my left leg. The pain was not gradual. It was absolute. I couldn't breathe. My foreman had to use the bucket truck to get me down because my legs stopped receiving instructions from my brain. The ER doctor called it a severe lumbar strain and sent me home with muscle relaxers. He was wrong. For the first week, Sarah was an angel. She brought me ice packs. She helped me to the bathroom. She called my work to handle the disability paperwork. But the pain didn't go away. It changed. It morphed from an acute injury into a grinding, constant agony that felt like someone was driving a railroad spike into my hip. By week 4, the dynamic shifted. I was still unable to stand for more than 10 minutes. I couldn't drive. I couldn't do the dishes. I spent my days lying on the living room floor with my legs elevated on the couch because sitting compressed the spine and standing was impossible. Sarah came home from work one Tuesday evening. The house was messy. There were dishes in the sink from breakfast. I had managed to drag myself to the kitchen to make a sandwich, but the effort had nearly caused me to pass out, so I left the plate. She walked in, saw the plate, and sighed. It was a heavy, theatrical sigh. "You've been home all day," she said. "I can't stand at the sink, Sarah," I said. "My back locks up." "You walked to the fridge," she countered. "If you can walk to the fridge, you can put a plate in the dishwasher. You're just lying there." "I am lying here because gravity is torture right now." She stepped over my legs and went to the kitchen. "Whatever. I guess I have to do everything now." That was the first crack. Over the next month, the cracks became a canyon. The workers' compensation insurance was dragging its feet on approving an MRI. They claimed it was a pre-existing condition. We were fighting them, but without my full paycheck, money was getting tight. Sarah had to go back to full-time. She hated it. She resented the loss of her free afternoons. She resented the fact that I was home and she was not. She stopped seeing me as her injured husband. She started seeing me as a defective appliance. I tried to explain the pain. I told her it felt like my nerves were on fire. She rolled her eyes. She started comparing me to her friend's husband who had back surgery and was back at work in 2 weeks. She didn't understand that every back injury is different. She didn't want to understand. She wanted her life back. Then came the whispering campaign. I didn't know about it at first. I was isolated. My world had shrunk to the living room and the bedroom. I didn't go out. I didn't see friends. Sarah became my sole link to the outside world. She would come home and tell me about family dinners I missed. "My mom thinks you should try yoga," she said one night. "I can't bend over, Sarah." "Well, you have to try something. Everyone is asking why you aren't better yet. It's embarrassing. I don't know what to tell them." "Tell them I am injured." "I do," she snapped. "But they see you posting on Facebook about movies, and they think you're just enjoying the vacation." I stopped posting on social media. I stopped talking to people. I focused on trying to get the insurance company to approve the scan. The breaking point of my sanity happened 2 months ago. My sister-in-law, Jessica, came over to drop off a casserole. It was a charity visit. I could feel the pity and the judgment radiating off her. I was on the floor, doing the physical therapy exercises that were the only thing keeping my muscles from atrophying. "Sarah says you're playing a lot of video games," Jessica said. She looked around the living room. "It keeps my mind off the pain," I said. "Must be nice to have that kind of time," she said. "Sarah looks exhausted. You know she's picking up extra shifts, right?" "I know. I appreciate it. Once the insurance settlement comes through, I'll pay everything back." "If it comes through," Jessica said. "Sarah said the insurance company thinks you're faking it too." The word hung in the air. "Too. Sarah thinks I'm faking it?" I asked. Jessica looked like she had said too much. "She's just frustrated. She says you won't even try to do basic chores. She says you're milking it so you don't have to go back to the line." I felt cold. I was in agony every second of every day. I was terrified I would never walk right again. And the person I trusted most was telling her family, my family, that I was a grifter. I confronted Sarah that night. "Jessica says you think I'm faking," I said. Sarah was chopping vegetables with aggressive, loud strokes. "I didn't say faking. I said you're comfortable. You've settled into this invalid role because it's easier than facing reality. The reality is I can't feel my left foot half the time." "So you say. But you haven't seen a doctor in a month." "Because the insurance denied the visit. I'm waiting on the appeal." "If you were really in that much pain, you'd go to the ER. You'd find a way. You're just waiting for a payout." "I am waiting for surgery." "You're lazy," she spat the word out. "You've always had a lazy streak. This just gave you an excuse to indulge it." I slept in the guest room that night. It was the only night I cried. Not from the pain, but from the realization that my wife didn't respect me. She didn't even like me. Things escalated. The holidays were approaching. Sarah insisted we host the annual family barbecue. It was her turn in the rotation, and she refused to cancel. "It will look weird if we cancel," she said. "People will think we're having marital problems." We are having marital problems, I said. Only because you won't get off the floor. She invited everyone. Her parents. My parents. Her sister. My brother. Cousins. About 30 people. I begged her not to. I told her I couldn't handle the hosting duties. I couldn't man the grill. I couldn't clean the house beforehand. I'll handle it, she said. You just have to shower and put on real pants and sit in a chair like a normal human being for 4 hours. I can't sit in a regular chair for 4 hours. Then stand. Or figure it out. Just don't embarrass me. The week leading up to the barbecue was hell. Sarah was in a frenzy of cleaning. She vacuumed around me while I lay on my yoga mat. She made loud phone calls to her mother, complaining about how hard it was to do everything alone. She made sure I heard every word. It's like having a giant toddler, she told her mother. I have to do the yard work. I have to grocery shop. He just watches TV. I finally got the call from the lawyer 2 days before the barbecue. The appeal won. The insurance company caved. They approved an emergency MRI and a consultation with a top neurosurgeon, Dr. Evans. The appointment was scheduled for the morning of the barbecue. I told Sarah. You have to reschedule, she said. The party starts at 1. You can't be gone all morning. I am not rescheduling. I have been waiting 4 months for this. Fine. But be back by noon. And don't come back whining about how much it hurt to sit in the car. I took an Uber to the hospital. I didn't want to ask her for a ride. Dr. Evans was a serious man. He didn't make small talk. He sent me straight to the imaging center. They rushed the results. When I came back to his office an hour later, his demeanor had changed. He wasn't just serious, he was urgent. Look at this, he said, putting the scan on the monitor. I looked. I didn't need a medical degree to see the problem. One of the discs in my lower spine was obliterated. It looked like a smashed jelly donut. A large chunk of the disc material was pressing deep into the spinal canal, choking off the bundle of nerves. This is a massive herniation, Dr. Evans said. You have severe cauda equina compression. Have you had any incontinence? A little, I admitted. I hadn't told Sarah that. It was too humiliating. You are a ticking time bomb, he said. If you twist the wrong way, or if this slips another 2 millimeters, you could lose bladder and bowel function permanently. You could lose the use of your legs. I want to operate. Today. I can't today, I said. I panicked. I thought about the barbecue. I thought about Sarah. If I missed the party to have surgery, she would tell everyone I did it on purpose to avoid responsibility. She would spin it that I was being dramatic. I needed her to understand. I needed her to hear this from him. I need to go home first, I said. I need to tell my wife. You shouldn't be in a car, Dr. Evans said. I have a family event today. Everyone is there. If I don't show up, my wife will leave me. I need you to tell her. Dr. Evans looked at me. He saw the desperation. He saw a man who was broken not just physically but emotionally. I can't leave the hospital, he said. Video call, I said. Please. I have a family meeting happening in 2 hours. I need you to explain this to her. If I say it, she won't believe me. She thinks I'm lazy. Dr. Evans paused. She thinks you're lazy with a herniation this size? Yes. He checked his watch. I have a gap before my next surgery at 2 p.m. I can call you at 1:30. But you need to be ready to come back here immediately after. I will. I took an Uber home. The pain in the car was blinding. Every bump in the road felt like a gunshot. I was sweating through my shirt when I arrived. The party was in full swing. People were in the backyard drinking beer and laughing. The smell of burgers was in the air. I hobbled through the gate. I was wearing sweatpants because I physically could not button jeans over my hips without triggering a spasm. Sarah saw me. She marched over, a plastic cup of wine in her hand. You're late, she hissed. And you're wearing sweatpants. I told you to put on real pants. I came from the doctor, Sarah. And, let me guess. He said your back hurts and you need rest. Go inside and change. My father-in-law, Bob, walked over. He is a pull-yourself-up-by-your-bootstraps kind of guy. "Hey, champ," Bob said. He clapped me on the shoulder. The force of it sent a shockwave down my spine that nearly dropped me to my knees. I gasped. "Careful, Dad," Sarah said loudly. "He's fragile. He might break a nail." A few people chuckled. My brother, Mike, looked uncomfortable. "You okay, man? You look pale." "I need to sit down," I said. "Grab a chair," Sarah said. "And grab a beer. Try to be social." I sat in a rigid patio chair. It was agony. People drifted by, offering half-hearted condolences that were laced with judgment. "My cousin broke his back and was roofing houses a month later," Sarah's uncle said to me. "It's all about mindset." "Yeah," I said. "Mindset." Sarah was holding court near the cooler. I could hear her. She had had a few drinks. Her voice was carrying. "It's just exhausting," she was saying to my mother. "I come home after a 10-hour day and he's just there. On the floor. He won't even help with dinner. I feel like a single mother, but without the kid." My mother looked pained. "He says it really hurts, Sarah." "He has a low pain tolerance," Sarah said. "He milked a sprained ankle for 3 weeks when we were dating. He just doesn't want to work. He found a way to get paid for sitting on his ass." I checked my phone. 1:28 p.m. "Sarah," I called out. She ignored me. "Sarah." I yelled. The party went quiet. She turned around, annoyed. "What? Do you need a refill? Can you not get it yourself?" "I need you to come here. Everyone needs to come here." "I am not doing this right now," she said. "Don't make a scene." "You've been making a scene for 2 months," I said. "You've been telling everyone I'm lazy. You've been telling everyone I'm faking. I want you to look at something." I pulled my phone out. I had connected it to the large outdoor Bluetooth speaker we were using for music. I set the phone on the patio table. "What is this?" she asked. The phone rang. Video call. Dr. Evans. I answered and propped the phone up against a napkin holder. Dr. Evans' face filled the screen. He was wearing scrubs and a surgical cap. He looked intimidating. "Is this Sarah?" Dr. Evans asked. His voice boomed over the speakers. Sarah froze. "Yes. Who is this?" "I am Dr. Evans. I am the neurosurgeon who examined your husband 2 hours ago. He asked me to explain his condition to you because he felt you were having trouble grasping the severity of the situation." The backyard was dead silent. Even the kids stopped running around. "I understand the situation," Sarah said, her voice wavering slightly. "He has a back strain." "He does not have a back strain," Dr. Evans said. "He has a massive L4-L5 disc extrusion with severe canal stenosis. I am looking at his MRI right now." Dr. Evans held up a tablet to the camera. We could see the black and white scan. "Do you see this dark mass?" Dr. Evans pointed. "That is the disc material crushing the cauda equina nerve roots. This is not a wait-and-see injury. This is a surgical emergency." Sarah stared at the screen. "But he walks. He walked in here." "He walked in there through sheer force of will and adrenaline," Dr. Evans said. "I told him he risked permanent paralysis by leaving the hospital. He told me he had to come home because his wife was threatening to leave him if he missed a barbecue." The silence in the backyard was heavy. It was suffocating. My mother gasped. Sarah's face went bright red. "I didn't say that," Sarah stammered. "He told me that he is being accused of malingering," Dr. Evans continued. His voice was cold, professional, and absolutely lethal. "He told me that his support system believes he is lazy. I want to be clear, purely from a medical standpoint. The amount of pain your husband is in is equivalent to passing a kidney stone, continuously for months. The fact that he has not gone into shock is a testament to his resilience. He is not lazy. He is being tortured by his own body." Sarah looked at me. For the first time in months, she actually looked at me. She saw the sweat on my forehead. She saw the gray pallor of my skin. She saw the way my hand was gripping the arm of the chair so hard my knuckles were white. "If he does not get into surgery immediately," Dr. Evans said, "he will likely lose control of his bladder and bowels permanently. He will lose sexual function. He may lose the ability to walk. I haven't or prepped. He needs to leave now. Do you understand? Sarah nodded. She couldn't speak. Good, Dr. Evans said. Get him here. Now. The call ended. For 10 seconds, nobody moved. Then my mother started crying. She ran over to me. Oh my God, honey. Oh my God. My brother Mike looked at Sarah. He looked like he wanted to hit her. You said he was playing video games. You said he was fine. I didn't know, Sarah whispered. You didn't listen. I shouted. It was the first time I raised my voice. I told you every single day. I told you I couldn't feel my legs. You told me to do the dishes. I thought you were lying, she screamed back, defensive tears starting to fall. You're always so dramatic when you get sick. How was I supposed to know? You're his wife, my father roared. He stepped in. You're supposed to believe him. The party disintegrated. My brother and my dad helped me to the car. They didn't let Sarah come. She tried to get in the passenger seat, sobbing now, saying she needed to be there. You've done enough, Mike said. He closed the door in her face. I had the surgery that night. It took 4 hours. When I woke up, the pain in my leg was gone. The surgical pain was there, sharp and clean, but the grinding, burning nerve pain had vanished. I could wiggle my toes. I could feel the sheets against my foot. Sarah was in the waiting room. My parents told me she had been there all night. She had tried to come back to see me, but I had told the nurses I didn't want visitors. She sent me texts. Dozens of them. I'm so sorry. I didn't know it was that bad. Please let me see you. I love you. We can fix this. I read them. I felt nothing. I stayed in the hospital for 3 days. My parents stayed with me. My brother brought me fresh clothes. Sarah came every day and sat in the lobby. I never let her in. On the 3rd day, the day of discharge, I finally agreed to speak to her. She came into the room. She looked wrecked. Her eyes were puffy. She hadn't showered. Thank God, she said, reaching for my hand. I pulled my hand away. I was so scared, she said. When Dr. Evans showed that scan, I felt like I was going to throw up. I am so sorry I didn't believe you. I was just so stressed with money and work, and I let it get to me. But we can put this behind us now. You're fixed. I'm fixed, I said. But we aren't. She froze. What? You humiliated me, Sarah. You didn't just doubt me. You campaigned against me. You turned my family against me. You watched me suffer for months, and you treated me with contempt. I made a mistake, she pleaded. I'm human. I was scared and I lashed out. I'm sorry. You weren't scared, I said. You were annoyed. You were inconvenienced by my pain. And you made sure everyone knew it. I can't trust you. If I get sick again? If I get cancer? Are you going to accuse me of faking chemo sickness because I can't mow the lawn? No. I learned my lesson. I learned mine too, I said. I told her I wasn't coming home. I told her I was going to my parents' house for recovery. I told her to contact me only through a lawyer. She broke down. She screamed. She begged. The nurses had to escort her out. That was 3 days ago. Since then, the fallout has been nuclear. My family has cut her off. Her family is split. Her mother called me to say I was being cruel and that marriage is about forgiveness. I blocked her. My brother told me that after we left the barbecue, Sarah tried to do damage control. She tried to tell everyone that Dr. Evans was exaggerating. But nobody bought it. The visual of the MRI and the doctor's voice had been too powerful. She stood alone in her backyard, surrounded by half-eaten burgers and people who looked at her like she was a monster. I am lying in this motel bed now. My back is stiff, but I can walk. I can stand. I am going to be okay physically. But I keep replaying the last 6 months in my head. I keep looking for the moment where I should have seen who she really was. Was she always this cruel? Was I blind? Or did the pressure just squeeze the ugliness out of her? I don't know. And honestly, I don't care. I have a long road of rehab ahead of me. I have a divorce to navigate. I have to rebuild my finances. But for the first time in half a year, I am not in pain. And I am not being gaslighted. I am free. Update 1. It has been a week since I posted this. The response has been overwhelming. I thank you all for the support. I wanted to answer a few common questions and give a small update on the situation. First, yes, I have filed for divorce. My lawyer served Sarah the papers yesterday. She apparently didn't take it well. She showed up at my job site. I am obviously not working, but my foreman told me. She made a scene, crying and yelling that I was throwing away 5 years over a misunderstanding. My foreman, who saw me get carried out of a bucket truck 6 months ago, told her to leave before he called the police. Second, regarding the lazy narrative. It turns out it went deeper than I thought. My brother Mike came over yesterday and showed me a group chat that Sarah had started with some of our mutual friends. It was titled The Invalid. Reading it was like drinking poison. She posted pictures of me sleeping on the floor with captions like "nap time for the prince." She complained about my sex drive, which was 0 because of the pain. She even made bets on when I would miraculously recover once the insurance check cleared. Seeing that chat killed the last tiny lingering doubt I had about leaving her. There is no coming back from that. That isn't stress. That is malice. Third, my recovery. I am walking about a mile a day now. Dr. Evans is pleased with the progress. He told me that if I had waited another week, the nerve damage would have been irreversible. He saved my life. I sent him a bottle of scotch that cost more than my first car. Sarah has been trying to turn her family against me, spinning a new story that I ambushed her with a doctor to humiliate her publicly. She is trying to play the victim. But it isn't working. Her own sister called me to apologize for not believing me earlier. She said, "I saw the fear in your eyes on that video call. I realized we were all wrong. I don't want revenge. I just want peace. I want to heal. I want to go back to work. I am currently looking for a small apartment. The house will have to be sold as part of the divorce. It hurts to lose it. I put a lot of sweat equity into that place. But it's tainted now. Every room reminds me of lying on the floor while she stepped over me. I will update again if anything major happens. But for now, I am just taking it one step at a time. Literally. Update 2. This will likely be my final update. The divorce is finalized. It was ugly. Sarah fought for everything. She wanted alimony. She wanted the truck. She wanted half of my future workers' comp settlement. My lawyer was a shark. We used the invalid group chat logs as evidence of her mindset. We used Dr. Evans' testimony about her refusal to acknowledge my medical condition, which exacerbated the injury. In the end, she got nothing. We sold the house and split the equity, but after paying off the debts we accrued while I was out of work, there wasn't much left. I saw her at the final mediation. She looked older. Harder. She didn't look at me. She just signed the papers and left. I heard through the grapevine that she is dating a guy from her gym. I hope he never gets sick. I am back at work. Light duty for now, mostly inspections and training new guys. I can't climb yet, and maybe I never will again. But I'm working. I'm useful. My back still aches when it rains. I have a scar that runs 4 inches up my spine. But I can walk. I can stand tall. I learned a hard lesson about unconditional love. I learned that for some people, love is entirely conditional on what you can provide for them. When the provision stops, the love stops. But I also learned who my real tribe is. My brother, my parents, the friends who reached out after the truth came out. They are still here. I'm 32 years old. I'm starting over with a bad back and a rented apartment. But I'm alive. And I'm not lazy. Thank you for listening. I am staring at a hard drive that sits on my mahogany desk like a piece of radioactive waste. It is small, black, and unassuming, the kind of generic tech you can buy at any convenience store for $10. Yet, what is stored on those terabytes has effectively nuclear bombed my life, destroyed a 20-year brotherhood, and turned my home into a crime scene. My hands are not shaking. That is the thing that surprises me the most. I expected to be trembling with rage or grief, but I am perfectly still. I am operating on a cold mechanical frequency now. I have a plan. I have the evidence. And in about 3 hours, Everyone we know is going to come over for a barbecue, and I am going to burn Mark's life to the ground while he eats my steak. You need to understand the history before you can appreciate the hate. Mark was not just a friend. He was the guy who pulled me out of a burning car when we were 19. He was the best man at my wedding who gave a speech that made my stoic father cry. We were inseparable. If you saw me, you saw Mark. We went to the same college, rushed the same fraternity, and ended up working in the same city. When I met Sarah, my wife, Mark was the first person I introduced her to. I needed his approval. That sounds pathetic now, a grown man needing his buddy to sign off on his life partner, but that was the dynamic. We were a package deal. So when Mark's marriage imploded 6 months ago, the question wasn't if I would help him, but how much. His wife, Linda, had kicked him out. According to Mark, Linda had gone insane. She was paranoid, accusing him of things he didn't do, checking his phone, screaming at him for coming home 5 minutes late. He painted a picture of a man under siege, a victim of a woman who had lost her grip on reality. I bought it. Hook, line, and sinker. I remembered Linda being a bit high-strung at parties, so it fit the narrative I wanted to believe. Mark was the good guy. He was the victim. It was a Tuesday night when he showed up at my door with 3 suitcases and a look of absolute defeat. It was raining, but I won't bore you with the atmosphere. He looked broken. I looked at Sarah. She hesitated for a fraction of a second, a micro-expression I ignored at the time but replay constantly now, before nodding. We had a spare bedroom downstairs, a converted office with its own half-bath. It was private, isolated from our master bedroom upstairs. We told him he could stay as long as he needed to get back on his feet. The first month was actually fun. It felt like college again. Sarah would go to bed early, and Mark and I would stay up late drinking bourbon and playing FIFA. We laughed about old times. He seemed to be bouncing back. He was helpful around the house, fixing a leaky faucet I had neglected for months, mowing the lawn without being asked. He was the perfect house guest. He was charming, clean, and invisible when we needed space. The shift was subtle. It didn't happen overnight. It was a slow erosion of boundaries that I was too blind to see because I was looking at him through the lens of 2 decades of friendship. It started with the comments. Mark had always been a joker, pushing the envelope, but the tone changed. One evening, Sarah came down in a dress she was wearing to a work dinner. It was elegant, fitted, but not revealing. Mark looked up from his laptop at the kitchen island. He whistled. "Damn, Sarah. If I knew you were hiding that under the sweats, I would have fought Opie for you back in the day." We all laughed. Sarah laughed. I laughed. It was a compliment, right? Just a bro hyping up his best friend's wife. But looking back, his eyes didn't move. They stayed locked on her, tracking her as she walked to the fridge to get a water bottle. A week later, I came home from work early. My meeting had been cancelled. I walked into the house, tossing my keys in the bowl. The house was quiet. I walked toward the kitchen and heard voices coming from the living room. I stopped. "You really shouldn't wear that color," Mark's voice was low, almost intimate. "It washes you out. You look better in red. Remember that red top you wore at the Christmas party 3 years ago? That was a look." I walked in. Mark was standing way too close to Sarah, who was folding laundry on the sofa. Sarah looked flustered, her cheeks pink. She took a step back when she saw me. "Hey," I said, looking between them. "What's going on?" "Just giving the lady some fashion advice," Mark said, grinning. The grin didn't reach his eyes. "She's got a great figure, but she hides it." "Right," I said. I felt a prickle of irritation, but I pushed it down. Mark was going through a divorce. He was probably just lonely and overstepping because he missed female interaction. I was making excuses for him before the crimes had even truly begun. Things escalated in the 2nd month. Mark stopped leaving the house. He worked remotely, a generic consulting gig that seemed to require very few actual hours. He was always there. If Sarah and I were watching a movie, he would sit in the armchair. If we were cooking dinner, he was chopping vegetables. If we were arguing, which we started doing more often, he would conveniently walk in to mediate. "Guys, come on," he would say, holding up his hands. "Life is too short. OP, just apologize to her. You know you can be stubborn." He was taking her side. Always. At first, Sarah appreciated it. She told me it was nice to have someone who actually listened to her. That stung. It made me defensive. I started to resent him, not because he was creeping on my wife, but because he was making me look like a bad husband in my own home. Then came the accidents. Sarah is a private person. She values her personal space. One Saturday morning, she was in the downstairs bathroom, the one connected to the guest room Mark was staying in, but which also served as the main floor powder room. The lock on that door was finicky. You had to really engage it. I was in the garage working on the car when I heard a scream. I dropped my wrench and ran inside. Sarah was standing in the hallway, wrapped in a towel, looking furious. Mark was standing in the kitchen, drinking coffee, looking sheepish. What happened? I demanded. He walked in on me. Sarah hissed, pointing a trembling finger at Mark. I was in the shower. I didn't know you were in there. Mark said, holding up his hands. The door wasn't locked. I just needed to grab my toothbrush. I thought you were upstairs. The shower was running, Mark. Sarah yelled. You could hear the water. I had my noise-canceling headphones on, Mark said, tapping the heavy Sony cans around his neck. I swear, Sarah. I saw nothing. It was just steam. I looked at Mark. He looked genuinely embarrassed. I looked at Sarah. She was shaking. It's okay, I said to Sarah, trying to de-escalate. He didn't mean to. It was an accident. Sarah looked at me with betrayal in her eyes. You're taking his side? I'm not taking sides, I said. I'm just saying he's not a pervert. He's my best friend. He made a mistake. Sarah stormed upstairs. Mark looked at me and sighed. Man, I am so sorry. She's really on edge, huh? Yeah, I said, clapping him on the shoulder. Don't worry about it. I'll talk to her. I went upstairs and found Sarah crying in our bedroom. I sat on the edge of the bed. He's watching me, she whispered. What? He watches me, OP. When I'm in the kitchen. When I'm walking up the stairs. I can feel it. And now this? He stood there for 5 seconds before he backed out. He didn't turn around immediately. He looked. Sarah, come on, I said, my voice gentle but dismissive. Mark isn't like that. He's going through a hell of a time with Linda. He's probably just zoned out. You need to kick him out, she said. I can't just kick him out. He has nowhere to go. He's looking for an apartment. Give him another month. She looked at me, her eyes hard. 1 month. If he's not gone in 30 days, I am. I agreed. I thought I was managing a difficult situation between a stressed wife and a depressed friend. I had no idea I was the unwitting accomplice to a predator. The atmosphere in the house curdled after that. Sarah avoided the downstairs area. She stopped wearing shorts or tank tops, even when it was hot. She started locking the bedroom door at night. I told her she was being paranoid. I told her she was making Mark feel unwelcome. We fought about it constantly. Mark, for his part, became even more solicitous. He bought Sarah flowers to apologize. He cooked dinner. He was trying too hard, but to me, it looked like repentance. Then, the technology started acting up. Our Wi-Fi, usually robust, started lagging. Streaming services would buffer. My gaming latency spiked. I'm a software engineer. I know my way around a network. I rebooted the router. I checked for interference. Everything seemed normal on the surface, but the bandwidth usage was consistently high, even when we were all asleep. I mentioned it to Mark over breakfast. Internet is weird lately. Must be the ISP. Mark froze. It was subtle. His fork paused halfway to his mouth. Yeah? I haven't noticed. My Zoom calls have been fine. He resumed eating, but his posture was rigid. 2 days later, I was looking for an old HDMI cable in the junk drawer in the kitchen. I couldn't find it. I remembered Mark had a box of tech cables in his room. He was out running errands, a rare occurrence, so I went into the guest room. I hadn't been in there since he moved in. It smelled like him, Old Spice and stale coffee. The room was neat. Too neat. The bed was made with military precision. There were no personal photos. I opened the closet door to look for his cable box. I found it, grabbed an HDMI cable, and turned to leave. Then I saw it. On the nightstand, next to his bed, was a laptop. It wasn't his work laptop. It was an old battered Dell that I recognized. It was the one we used to use for gaming back in 2015. He had told me it died years ago. It was running. The lid was closed, but the status light was pulsing. Curiosity is a dangerous thing. I opened the lid. The screen prompted for a password. I tried his usual, Mark Rules 85. Access denied. I tried his birthday. Access denied. I tried the name of his first dog. Access denied. I sat on the edge of the bed. Why was he running an old laptop that was supposed to be dead? And why was it password protected with something new? I looked around the room. My eyes landed on the smoke detector in the corner of the ceiling. It looked new. It was a different model than the ones in the rest of the house. I had installed Nest Protects everywhere. This was a generic white disc. I stood on the bed and examined it. There was no flashing LED indicating it was active. I twisted it off the mount. It wasn't a smoke detector. Inside the plastic casing, there was no ionization chamber. There was a battery pack, a micro SD card slot, and a tiny pinhole lens. My stomach dropped. The world tilted on its axis. I took the device down. I popped the micro SD card out. I went to the old Dell laptop. I rebooted it into safe mode, bypassing the password login, a trick Mark clearly forgot I taught him 10 years ago. I inserted the card. There were hundreds of files. Video files. I clicked on the most recent one. The angle was high. It was a view of the guest bathroom. The one Sarah used that day. The one Mark used. But then I clicked another file. Date stamped 3 weeks ago. It was a view of the living room. Low angle. Under the coffee table. I clicked another. The master bedroom. I couldn't breathe. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. How? We never let him in there. I watched the footage. It was from the top of the wardrobe. He must have planted it when we were out grocery shopping. The camera captured Sarah changing. It captured us sleeping. It captured us arguing about him. I felt bile rise in my throat. I wanted to smash the laptop. I wanted to run out and find Mark and beat him until his face was unrecognizable. But I stopped. If I confronted him now, he would deny it. He would say it was for security. Or he would delete everything and claim I was crazy. Or worse, he would disappear, and I would never get justice. I needed to know the extent of it. I took the SD card. I put the fake smoke detector back on the ceiling. I left the room exactly as I found it. I went to my office upstairs. I locked the door. I plugged the SD card into my secure, air-gapped machine. I went through the files. It wasn't just passive recording. He had categorized them. Sarah yoga. Sarah shower. Sarah sleep. And then I found the audio files. He had bugs. Audio bugs. I put on my headphones and listened. I heard my own voice. I can't just kick him out, Sarah. I heard Mark's voice, recorded from a different source, probably his phone. He was talking to someone. Yeah, they're fighting again. It's working. She's so uncomfortable she's barely speaking to him. I give it another month before they separate. Then I can swoop in. I just need to be the shoulder to cry on. He was talking to his brother. She's perfect, man. You should see her. I've got hours of footage. I'm going to make a compilation. I ripped the headphones off. This wasn't just voyeurism. This was a systematic dismantling of my marriage. He was trying to break us up so he could have her. He was gaslighting Sarah, manipulating me, and recording the results like a science experiment. I sat there for an hour, staring at the wall. The rage cooled into a hard, diamond-like resolve. I called Linda. Hello. Her voice was guarded. We hadn't spoken since the divorce began. Linda, it's OP. Silence. What do you want? Is he okay? I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Why did you kick him out? She sighed. A long, ragged sound. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Try me. Did it involve cameras? There was a pause. You found them. I found them. Oh God. OP, I am so sorry. I tried to tell people. He had them in the bathroom. In the vents. He recorded my sister when she stayed over. That was the final straw. I threatened to go to the police, and he threatened to release videos of me. Private videos. So I just kicked him out. I wanted him gone. I didn't warn you because I thought he wouldn't do it to his best friend. I thought it was just me. It's not just you, I said. Linda, do you still have the evidence? The drives he left behind. Yes. I kept everything just in case. Don't destroy them. I'm going to need them. I hung up. I had a plan. But I needed time. I had to play the part. I went downstairs. I made coffee. Mark came home an hour later. Hey man, he chirped, walking into the kitchen with grocery bags. I bought steaks. Figure we grill tonight. I looked at him. The face I had known for 20 years. The smile that had charmed my parents. The eyes that were currently undressing my wife in his mind. Sounds great, I said, forcing a smile. I love steak. The next week was the hardest acting performance of my life. I had to be the oblivious best friend. I had to watch him interact with Sarah and not vomit. I started a sweep of the house when he was asleep. I found 3 more cameras. One in the living room inside a hollowed-out book. One in the kitchen hidden in a decorative plant. And one, to my absolute horror, under our mattress. A pressure sensor audio bug. I didn't remove them. If I removed them, he would know I knew. I disabled the network transmission on the Wi-Fi router by blocking their specific MAC addresses at the firewall level, but I left the local recording capabilities intact so he wouldn't suspect a network issue immediately. I told him the internet was still acting up. I called the ISP, I lied. They're sending a tech out next week. Ah, bummer, Mark said. Well, we can suffer through 4G, right? Meanwhile, I was building my case. I copied every file from the SD cards when he was out. I documented the timestamps. I matched his audio diaries, where he confessed his plan, to the arguments Sarah and I were having. I showed Sarah everything 3 days ago. I couldn't keep it from her anymore. We were in a hotel room. I had told Mark we were going away for a romantic weekend to fix things. In reality, I took Sarah to a Marriott 2 towns over so we could talk without being recorded. When I showed her the laptop, she didn't scream. She went pale. She sat in the hotel chair and watched the video of herself sleeping. She listened to Mark talking about how he was going to break her in, once I was out of the picture. She went to the bathroom and threw up. When she came out, she looked different. The fear was gone, replaced by a cold, predatory anger that matched mine. I want him in jail, she said. He will be, I promised. But first, I want him destroyed. I want everyone to see what he is. Linda, his parents, our friends. Everyone. How? His birthday is this Saturday. He thinks we're throwing him a surprise party. We are, Sarah said, a dark smile touching her lips. Surprise. Which brings us to today. I am back at the desk. The hard drive is ready. The guests are arriving in 2 hours. I invited everyone. His parents are flying in from Ohio. His brother. Our college buddies. Linda is coming, though she will stay in the car until the signal. Even his boss is coming. Mark had been bragging about how tight he was with the VP, so I sent an invite saying it was a milestone celebration. Mark thinks this party is a validation of his new life. He thinks he has successfully integrated into my home. He thinks he is winning. I hear footsteps upstairs. Mark knocks on my office door. Yo, OP. You decent? Come in, I say. He opens the door. He's wearing a fresh shirt, looking sharp. Sarah's in the kitchen prepping. She seems happy. Did the weekend away work? It did wonders, I say, spinning my chair around. We cleared the air. Realized what the real problem was. That's great, man. I told you, communication is key. He leans against the doorframe. So, who's coming tonight? You've been secretive. Just the inner circle, I lie. People who really know you. Awesome. Can't wait. He fingerguns me and leaves. I wait until his footsteps fade. I check the AV system setup on my phone. I have wired the living room TV to my laptop. I have prepared a presentation. It's not a slideshow of happy memories. It is a timeline of predation. The party. The house is full. There are about 30 people. The mood is jovial. Mark is in his element, holding a beer, holding court in the center of the living room. His parents are beaming, proud of their resilient son who survived a toxic divorce. I catch Sarah's eye across the room. She is wearing the red dress Mark likes. It's a trap. She is playing the role of the prize he thinks he's about to win. I cling my glass with a spoon. The room quiets down. Everyone, if I could have your attention, I say, stepping up to the fireplace. The big 85-inch TV is behind me, displaying a generic Happy Birthday Mark screensaver. Mark smiles, raising his beer. Oh no, no speeches, he feigns modesty. I have to, I say. Mark has been my best friend for 20 years. When he moved in a few months ago, our lives changed. I wanted to take this opportunity to show you all exactly what Mark has been doing with his time here. He's been working on a project. A very personal project. Mark looks confused. Project? I don't. Just watch, I say. I hit the spacebar on my laptop, remote in my pocket. The screen goes black. Then, video footage appears. It's the view from the smoke detector in the guest room. But it's not Sarah. It's Mark. He is sitting on his bed, talking to the camera. Day 45, the recording says. OP is a moron. He actually apologized to me for the bathroom thing. Sarah is cracking. I can feel it. She's vulnerable. The room goes dead silent. Mark's smile vanishes. He drops his beer. The bottle shatters, beer foaming over the hardwood, but no one moves. What is this? Mark stammers. This is a deepfake. A joke. The video cuts. It's the footage from under the coffee table. Sarah's legs walking by. Mark's voiceover plays, taken from the audiobugs. Look at that. She wants it. She dresses like that for me. Mark's mother gasps. Mark. Turn it off. Mark yells, lunging toward me. My college linebacker buddy, Dave, steps in front of Mark. Dave is 6 feet 4 inches and doesn't know the whole story, but he knows something is wrong. Sit down, Mark. It's fake. Mark screams, his face turning red. OP is crazy. He's jealous. I click the remote again. A split screen appears. 4 camera feeds. The bathroom. The bedroom. The living room. The kitchen. These are live feeds, I say calmly. Or they were, until I pulled the cameras out this morning. On the screen, a video plays of Mark entering our bedroom while we were out. He goes to the hamper. He pulls out Sarah's underwear. He holds them to his face. The silence in the room is heavy, suffocating. It is the sound of 30 people realizing they are in the presence of a monster. Mark's dad looks like he's having a heart attack. He sinks onto the sofa. I called the police an hour ago, I announce. They are on their way. But before they get here, there is one more guest. I nod to Sarah. She opens the front door. Linda walks in. Mark looks at Linda, and for the first time, I see genuine fear. You told them she was crazy, I say to the room. You told us she was paranoid. Linda, would you like to share your side? Linda stands next to me. She looks strong. He put cameras in my shower, she says clearly. He recorded my sister. He threatened to ruin my reputation if I spoke up. He is a predator. Mark looks around the room. He sees no allies. His mother is crying into her hands. His boss is typing furiously on his phone, probably drafting a termination email. His friends are looking at him with disgust. You set me up, Mark hisses at me. After everything I did for you? I saved your life. You saved my life once, I say. And then you tried to steal it. Sirens wail in the distance. The timing is perfect. Get out, I say. Wait on the curb for the cops. If you stay in my house for one more second, Dave is going to remove you. Dave cracks his knuckles. He looks ready to do it. Mark looks at Sarah. Sarah, please. You know me. We had a connection. Sarah looks him dead in the eye. I checked the bathroom for cameras before I showered today, Mark. You didn't just violate my privacy. You violated my home. You are nothing to me. Mark turns and runs. He doesn't grab his coat. He doesn't grab his bag. He runs out the front door into the flashing blue lights of the arriving patrol cars. The aftermath. It has been 3 months since the party. Mark was arrested. We handed over the hard drive, the laptop, and the SD cards. Linda provided her evidence too. He was charged with multiple counts of invasion of privacy, voyeurism, and illegal wiretapping. Because he recorded audio without consent in a two-party consent state, the felony charges stuck. He is currently out on bail, living in a motel because his parents refused to take him in. He lost his job. His face was all over the local news. The nice guy mask has been ripped off, and the world sees the rot underneath. My house is quiet now. Sarah and I are in therapy. It's hard. The violation runs deep. Every time she enters a room, she looks at the corners of the ceiling. We had to hire a professional security team to sweep the house to reassure her there were no more cameras. We repainted the guest room. We turned it into a gym. We needed to sweat the bad energy out. Our marriage is healing, but the scar tissue is thick. We bond over the trauma, which isn't healthy, but it's what we have right now. We apologize to each other constantly. I apologize for letting him in. She apologizes for not screaming louder when she first felt uncomfortable. But the hardest part for me isn't the betrayal of the marriage. It's the memory of the friendship. Sometimes, late at night, I find myself thinking about the road trip we took to Vegas when we were 22. I think about the time we camped in the Rockies. I think about the laughter. And then I remember the folder on his laptop labeled OP Gullible. I found it during my deep dive. It was a text document. A diary of sorts. He buys everything I say. He's so desperate to be the good guy, the loyal friend. I can do whatever I want, and he'll thank me for it. He's pathetic. That is what kills the nostalgia. He didn't just hate my wife. He held me in contempt. He thought my loyalty was stupidity. So, I don't feel guilty about ruining his life. I don't feel bad about the party. I heard from a mutual friend that Mark is trying to sue me for defamation. Good luck with that. Truth is an absolute defense. And I have 4 terabytes of truth sitting in an evidence locker at the police station. We are moving next month. We can't stay in this house. Too many ghosts. Too many eyes in the walls. We bought a place in the country. It needs work. It needs new wiring. I'm doing the wiring myself this time. No contractors. No friends helping out. Just me. I checked the smoke detectors in the new place yesterday. I took them apart. I checked the vents. I checked the electrical outlets. Sarah watched me from the doorway. She didn't call me paranoid. She just asked, "Is it clear?" "It's clear," I told her. "Good," she said. "Lock the door." I locked it. And for the first time in 6 months, I felt like we were actually alone. But here is the kicker. The thing that keeps me up at night. In the files I gave to the police, there was a folder I didn't open. It was encrypted with a different level of security than the rest. A 256-bit AES key. I couldn't crack it. The police forensics team cracked it last week. The detective called me yesterday. He sounded shaken. "OP," he said. "We found files in that encrypted folder." More of Sarah. I asked. "No," he said. "Not Sarah. And not from your house." "What do you mean?" "They are from other houses, OP. Other friends of yours. Mike's house. Steve's house. There are dates going back 5 years." I dropped the phone. Mark hadn't just started this when his marriage failed. This wasn't a reaction to trauma. This was his hobby. For years. Every time he house sat for us. Every time he stayed over after a poker night. Every time he offered to fix someone's computer. He was harvesting us. I called Mike. I called Steve. I had to make the calls that ruined their sense of security, just like mine was ruined. Check your vents, I told them. Check your smoke detectors. The fallout is still happening. Marriages are being tested. The friend group has dissolved into a panic of checking floorboards and recalling every time Mark was left alone in a room. Mark isn't just a bad friend. He is a cancer that we invited to dinner for a decade. And the worst part? I remember a specific conversation from 3 years ago. We were at a bar. Mark was drunk. You know, he had slurred, "Knowledge is power." Real power isn't money. It's knowing what people do when they think no one is watching. I laughed. I thought he was being philosophical. "You're a creep," I had joked. Yeah, he had smiled. "But I'm your creep." I want to go back to that moment. I want to smash the beer bottle into his face. But I can't. All I can do is make sure that wherever he goes, whatever town he tries to settle in, they know. I have posted his mugshot on community boards. I have created a website documenting the public court records. I am his shadow now. He watched us without our permission. Now, I am making sure the whole world watches him. He is currently trying to get a job at a tech startup in Austin. I found out via LinkedIn. I sent an email to their HR department this morning with a link to the news articles and the police report. He was rejected by noon. He called me an hour ago. A number I didn't recognize. "When are you going to stop?" he screamed. He sounded drunk. "I have nothing left. You win. Just let me live." "You can live," I said calmly. "But you'll never live in the dark again. I'm going to be the light that follows you everywhere." I hung up. I looked at Sarah. She was reading a book, her legs tucked under her. She looked peaceful. "Who was that?" she asked. "Telemarketer," I said. "Block them," she said. "I did," I said. "I permanently blocked them." I went to the window. It was raining. The streetlights reflected on the wet pavement. I saw a car drive slowly by. I watched it until it turned the corner. I am not the same man I was 6 months ago. I am harder. I am colder. I trust less. But I protect mine. And if you are reading this, Mark, and I know you are because you track my online activity, I found the keylogger you tried to install on my phone remotely. Know this. I saved a copy of the encrypted folder. The one with the other families. I haven't released that yet. I'm holding it. If you ever come near me, or Sarah or Linda, or any of us ever again, I won't just send it to the police. I will send it to the families. And some of those husbands aren't like me. They won't call the cops. They won't hold a PowerPoint presentation. Steve served in the Marines. Mike has a temper that makes mine look like a mild annoyance. If I release those names, you won't go to jail. You will go to the morgue. So keep running. Keep looking over your shoulder. Because we are watching you. Part 2, The Deep Dive. I realized I left out the specifics of the investigation. The how matters as much as the what. You need to understand the level of sophistication Mark employed, because it changes him from a pervert to a master manipulator. When I found the first camera, I thought it was opportunistic. A crime of desperation. But when I analyzed the network traffic, the picture changed. I mentioned I'm a software engineer. My specialty is actually back-end security for financial institutions. I look for anomalies in data streams. I look for the things that don't belong. Mark knew this. That's why he didn't use the Wi-Fi for the bulk of the data transfer. He used a mesh network. The devices, the smoke detector, the book, the plant, were not connecting directly to my router. They were connecting to each other via low-frequency protocol, Zigbee or Z-Wave, something that doesn't show up on a standard Wi-Fi scan. They created a local intranet within my walls. The master node was the laptop in his room. The laptop acted as the bridge. It would collect the data from the nodes, compress it, and then burst upload it to a cloud server at 3 a.m. He throttled the upload speed so it wouldn't max out the bandwidth and trigger an alert. He capped it at 200 kbps. Slow, steady exfiltration. The only reason the internet lagged was because one of the cameras, the one in the living room, was malfunctioning and stuck in a loop, flooding his local mesh and causing interference with the 2.4 GHz band of my router. If that camera hadn't glitched, I might never have caught him. I spent 3 nights mapping his network. I used a packet sniffer to intercept the handshake between the laptop and the cloud server. The server was hosted in a country with non-existent data privacy laws. I managed to guess his credentials not by brute force, but by social engineering. I remembered he used to use a variation of his high school locker combination for everything. 32-15-08. I tried variations. Mark Locker 321508. Mark Rules 321508. Then I remembered his obsession with the Matrix. Red Pill 321508. Access granted. The cloud server was a library. It wasn't just videos. It was dossiers. He had a file on me. It contained my social security number, my bank account numbers, my passwords. He had keylogged my workstation. He wasn't just watching us. He was preparing to become me. I found a document titled Exit Strategy. It detailed a plan to transfer funds from my savings account to an offshore shell company. It detailed how to frame me for embezzlement at my job. He had planted evidence on my work laptop. I found the files. Hidden in the System 32 folder. Encrypted PDFs that looked like insider trading tips. If he had executed this, I would have gone to federal prison. Sarah would have been left alone, destitute. And he would have been the hero who stepped in to save her. This is why I say he tried to steal my life. It wasn't a metaphor. It was a calculated identity theft and frame job. I spent the next 48 hours scrubbing my digital life. I had to wipe my work laptop without alerting IT. I had to change every password, every PIN, every security question. I went to the bank and froze my credit. I moved our savings to a new account at a different bank. I did all of this while he was sitting on my couch, eating my popcorn, watching Netflix with my wife. The level of dissociation I had to achieve was psychotic. I had to laugh at his jokes while knowing he had planned to send me to jail. I remember one moment vividly. It was a Tuesday. 3 days before the party. We were in the kitchen. I was making coffee. Mark walked in. "Hey buddy," he said. "You look tired. You okay?" He put a hand on my shoulder. I looked at his hand. I imagined breaking his fingers one by one. "Just work stress," I said. "Big project coming up." "You work too hard," Mark said. "You should take a break. Maybe Sarah and I can plan a staycation for you. You just relax, we handle everything." "That sounds nice," I said. "Real nice. I just want you to be happy, OP. You deserve it." The audacity. The sheer, unadulterated evil of looking a man in the eye and telling him he deserves happiness while holding the knife to his back. That was the moment I decided the police weren't enough. That was the moment I decided on the party. I wanted to see his face when he realized I was smarter than him. I wanted to see the arrogance drain out of him. And I did. When the video played, and he realized I had hacked his feeds, I saw it. I saw the mastermind crumble into a scared little boy. It was the most satisfying moment of my life. Better than my graduation. Better than any promotion. It was primal. The alpha wolf taking down the challenger who tried to kill the pack. The legal battle. You might be wondering why he's out on bail. The legal system is slow. His lawyer is arguing that because he lived in the house, he had a reasonable expectation of dominance over the common areas. It's a bullshit argument, but it's stalling the proceedings. They are trying to get the audio recordings thrown out. They claim I obtained them illegally by hacking his laptop. My lawyer, a shark named Rebecca whom I hired immediately, countered that I was the administrator of the network and had the right to inspect traffic on my own property. The fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine is being debated. But the physical cameras? Those are admissible. The ones in the bathroom? Admissible. The exit strategy document? That is intent to commit fraud. That is the nail in the coffin. We are looking at 5 to 10 years. It's not enough. He should rot for life. But while the courts do their dance, I am doing mine. I mentioned the website. I bought the domain name Mark, last name, truth.com. I SEO optimized it. If you Google his name, it is the first result. Above his LinkedIn. Above his Facebook. It contains the police report numbers. It contains the transcripts of his diaries. It contains the testimony of Linda. I update it weekly. Week 12. Mark is still unemployed. Spotted at a liquor store in downtown. Week 13. Mark's lawyer requested a continuance. Denied. I am keeping the public pressure on. I want the jury pool to know his name before they even walk into the courtroom. Is this petty? Yes. Is it vindictive? Absolutely. But when someone tries to dismantle your reality, you don't respond with kindness. You respond with scorched earth. The impact on Sarah. I need to talk about Sarah. She is strong, but she is changed. She used to be the kind of person who sang in the shower. She doesn't do that anymore. She takes quick, functional showers. She locks the door even when I am the only one home. She used to love hosting dinner parties. Now, the idea of strangers in our home makes her anxious. We lost friends. Not just Mark. We lost the friends who didn't want to get involved. The ones who said, well, there are two sides to every story. There are not two sides to this story. There is the predator and the prey. If you couldn't pick a side, you were cut. We have a smaller circle now. A tighter circle. Dave, the linebacker, comes over on Sundays to watch football. He checks the perimeter of the house before he comes in. It's a joke, but it's not really a joke. Sarah feels safe with Dave. He's simple. He's loyal. He would punch Mark through a brick wall if I let him. We need that kind of energy. I asked Sarah yesterday if she missed the old days. Before Mark moved in. I miss being naive, she said. I miss thinking that people were generally good. That broke my heart. Mark stole her innocence. He stole her faith in humanity. That is a theft that cannot be insured. The warning signs I missed. In hindsight, the red flags were giant crimson banners waving in my face. The victim complex. Mark was never the problem. It was always his boss, his ex, the traffic, the weather. Nothing was ever his fault. The jokes, he tested boundaries with humor. If you got offended, you were too sensitive. If you laughed, he pushed further. The isolation, he tried to isolate me from other friends. Dave is boring. Steve is annoying. He wanted me all to himself. The mirroring, he started dressing like me. He bought the same watch. He started using my catchphrases. He wasn't bonding, he was copying. If you have a friend like this, watch them. If they move into your house, set boundaries immediately. If they make a comment about your partner that makes your stomach turn, trust your gut. Don't be me. Don't wait until you find a camera in a smoke detector. Current status. It is raining again. I am sitting in the empty living room of the house we are selling. The boxes are packed. The place feels dead. The warmth is gone. I walk to the guest room. The spot where his bed was is empty. The outline of the rug is visible on the floor. I look up at the ceiling. The new smoke detector blinks green. Safe. I pull out my phone. I check the tracker. Mark is at a bar on 5th Street. He has been there for 4 hours. I could go there. I could walk in. But I won't. I have a better idea. I open the app for the jukebox in that bar. It's a digital one. You can cue songs remotely. I pay for 20 credits. I cue Every Breath You Take by The Police. 20 times in a row. I smile. I can imagine him sitting there, hearing the opening riff. I'll be watching you. He knows. He knows it's me. He will look around the bar, paranoid, terrified. He will leave his drink unfinished. He will run out into the rain. And I will be here, safe, warm, and watching the little dot on the map scurry away like the rat he is. We leave tomorrow. New house. New life. But the hard drive comes with us. Just in case. Because the thing about betrayal is that it never truly ends. You just learn to live with the weapon under your pillow. I place the hard drive in my briefcase. I lock it. Ready? Sarah asks from the doorway. Ready, I say. We walk out together. I lock the front door for the last time. I leave the keys under the mat for the realtor. As we drive away, I look in the rearview mirror. The house shrinks. Good riddance. We are survivors. And Mark? Mark is a ghost story we will tell to warn others. And if he ever tries to become flesh and blood again, well, I still have that encrypted folder. And Steve is just a phone call away. End of story. I always thought the worst thing Sarah did was break my heart. I was wrong. The worst thing she did was look me in the eye, tears streaming down her face, and promise me that Buster was sleeping at the foot of her bed every night, safe and loved. For 6 months, I lived with a hole in my chest where my dog used to be, consoling myself with the lie that at least he had a backyard. At least he had her. Then I got the email. It was not a vet bill. It was not a grooming receipt. It was an automated notification from a microchip registry service I had forgotten to update, alerting me that my contact information had been removed by an authorized shelter partner 3 counties over. The timestamp on the intake scan was dated exactly 48 hours after Sarah drove away with him. The reason for surrender listed on the attached PDF was not breakup or relocation. It was owner request, euthanasia aggression. But here is the kicker: Buster does not have an aggressive bone in his body, and the dog in the intake photo was terrified, ribs showing, but very much alive. That administrative email was the loose thread that unraveled a sweater made entirely of sociopathic lies, cruelty, and fraud. I did not just get my dog back. I burned her entire world to the ground, and I have the court documents to prove it. To understand the magnitude of what she did, you have to understand Buster. He is a golden retriever and Labrador mix, 80 pounds of pure, unfiltered sunshine. I found him in a cardboard box behind a hardware store 4 years ago, dehydrated and covered in fleas. I nursed him back to health. I trained him. I was the one who woke up every 2 hours to bottle feed him when he was too small for kibble. He was my shadow. When Sarah and I started dating 2 years ago, she claimed to love him. She bought him toys. She posted selfies with him. She built an entire online persona around being a dog mom. The breakup was sudden. Sarah sat me down on a Tuesday night and told me she needed space. She said our lives were going in different directions. I was devastated, but I tried to be an adult about it. Then came the conversation about Buster. I lived in a 3rd-floor apartment in the city. Sarah was moving into a rental house with a large fenced yard in the suburbs. She leveraged that yard like a weapon. She told me it was cruel to keep a big dog in an apartment. She said he deserved grass. She said he deserved space to run. She cried. She begged. She promised I could visit him whenever I wanted. She promised she would take the best care of him. I caved. I put my dog's well-being above my own desire to keep him. I packed his favorite Kong, his bed, his giant bag of expensive prescription food, and I loaded him into her car. I hugged him around the neck and told him to be a good boy. I watched them drive away, and I felt like I had severed a limb. The first month was silence. Every time I texted to ask about visiting, she had an excuse. She was busy with work. Her mom was in town. She had the flu. The house was being fumigated. I did not want to be the crazy ex, so I backed off. I settled for photos. She sent me pictures occasionally. Buster sleeping on a rug. Buster in the yard. They were blurry, or close-ups, but it was him. Then came the request for money. Sarah texted me in month 2 saying Buster had developed a limp. The vet suspected a torn CCL. She said the surgery and rehab would cost $3,000. She sent me a screenshot of an estimate from a veterinary clinic. I did not hesitate. I transferred $1,500 to her account that same day. I told her I would pay the rest next month. I picked up extra shifts. I ate ramen. I sold my gaming console. I sent her the money because that was my boy, and I would not let him suffer. This pattern continued for 6 months. I paid for his special food. I paid for his heartworm prevention. I paid for his hydrotherapy sessions. In total, I sent Sarah nearly $5,000 in 6 months. I was paying child support for a dog I was not allowed to see. Then came the email. It was a Tuesday morning. I was sitting at my desk, numbly scrolling through my inbox, when I saw the subject line, Microchip Registration Update Transfer of Ownership Initiated. My heart stopped. I clicked it. The email stated that a transfer request had been initiated by Sunnydale County Animal Control. I was confused. Why would Sarah be transferring ownership at Animal Control? I called the number in the email immediately. A woman answered. Her voice was tired. I explained who I was and gave her the microchip number. I heard typing. She asked me to verify my name. I did. She asked if I was the owner of the dog named Buster. I said yes. Then she asked me why I had never come to claim him. The room spun. I asked her what she meant. She told me that Buster had been brought in as a stray 6 months ago. He had been picked up wandering on a rural highway, 20 miles from where Sarah lived. He had no collar. They scanned him, but the chip information was linked to my old phone number, the one I changed right before I met Sarah. They had tried to call, got a disconnected tone, and held him for the mandatory stray hold period. I asked her where he was now. She told me he had been pulled by a local rescue group on the day he was scheduled to be put down. She gave me the name of the rescue. I hung up and called the rescue. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. A volunteer answered. I gave her the chip number. There was a long pause. She told me that, yes, they had Buster. They had renamed him Duke. She told me he had been adopted out to a family 3 months ago. I felt like I was going to vomit. Adopted. My dog was living with strangers. But then the volunteer hesitated. She said the adoption had not worked out. The family returned him yesterday because he had severe separation anxiety and was howling for hours when left alone. He was currently back at their facility, in a kennel. I asked for the address. I told my boss I had a family emergency. I got in my car and I drove. I broke every speed limit on the interstate. When I got to the rescue, I barged in. I think I looked manic. I showed them my ID. I showed them pictures of Buster on my phone from years ago. I showed them the vet records I still had on my phone. They brought him out. He looked older. His face was whiter. He was thinner. His coat was dull. He walked with his head down, tail tucked. But the second he saw me, he froze. He sniffed the air. I dropped to my knees and whispered his name. He let out a sound I have never heard a dog make before. It was a scream. He launched himself at me. He knocked me over. He was whining, licking my face, burying his head in my chest. The staff were crying. I was crying. I checked him over. He had a scar on his leg that was not there before. He was missing a tooth. I signed the paperwork. I paid the adoption fee. I took him to my car. He refused to get in the back seat. He sat in the front passenger seat, his head resting on my shoulder the entire drive home. Once we were inside my apartment, he drank an entire bowl of water and collapsed on his old bed, which I had never thrown away. I sat there watching him sleep for 3 hours. Then the rage set in. It started as a low hum in the back of my skull and grew into a deafening roar. Sarah had not just given him away. She had dumped him. She had driven him out to the country and kicked him out of the car. She left him to die on a highway. And then, for 6 months, she had looked me in the digital eye and lied. She had taken my money. She had invented injuries. She had forged vet documents. I went to my computer. I started digging. I pulled up the screenshot of the vet estimate she had sent me for the surgery. I looked closely at it. The font on the total amount was slightly different from the font on the line items. I called the clinic listed on the header. I asked if they had a patient named Buster under Sarah's name. They checked. They had no record of her or the dog. The document was a forgery. A bad one. I went through our text messages. Every photo she sent me in the last 6 months. I ran them through a reverse image search. Nothing came up. But then I looked at the metadata. The dates on the photos were all from the year prior. She had been sending me old photos from her camera roll, cropping them slightly so I would not recognize the background. She had profited $5,000 from my grief. I sat there and formulated a plan. I could go to the police, but I knew what they would say. It is a civil matter. It is a dispute over property. Maybe they would care about the fraud, maybe not. But the wheels of justice are slow, and I wanted something faster. I wanted total destruction. I needed evidence that was undeniable. I needed a confession. I texted Sarah. I kept my tone light. I told her I had a surprise. I told her I got a big bonus at work and I wanted to pay off the rest of Buster's medical bills, and maybe send him to that fancy dog training camp she had mentioned once. I told her I had $2,000 ready to transfer, but I needed an updated invoice from the vet for my tax records. She took the bait instantly. She texted back within 5 minutes. She said that was amazing. She said Buster was doing so much better but still needed meds. She said she would get the invoice to me by tomorrow. The next day, she emailed me a PDF. It was another forged document from the same clinic. This time, she got greedy. She added a consultation fee and medication refill to bump the total up. I had her. I reached out to a lawyer friend of mine. We drafted a demand letter, but we did not send it yet. I wanted to hit her where it hurt most. Her reputation. Sarah is an influencer. Not a huge one, but she has about 20,000 followers on Instagram and TikTok. Her entire brand is wholesome positivity and lifestyle. She posts about yoga, vegan cooking, and you guessed it, being a dog lover. I spent the next 3 days compiling a dossier. I created a timeline. Exhibit A, the text messages where she promised to keep him. Exhibit B, the intake form from Animal Control dated 2 days after the breakup. Exhibit C, the screenshot of the forged vet bill. Exhibit D, the bank transfer receipts showing the money I sent her. Exhibit E, the email from the clinic confirming the bill was fake. Exhibit F, a video of me reuniting with Buster at the rescue, timestamped yesterday. Exhibit G, the new invoice she just sent me. I did not post it yet. I gave her one chance to confess. I asked her to meet me for coffee. I told her I wanted to give her the cash in person because I was having issues with my bank app. She agreed. We met at a coffee shop downtown. She looked great. Happy. She hugged me. She ordered a latte. She asked how I was. I looked at her and asked, "How is Buster?" She smiled that practiced, perfect smile. "He is great. He is actually at the park with my neighbor right now. He loves it there." I nodded. "Is he still limping?" "A little," she said, making a sad face. "But the meds help. Thank you so much for helping with the bills. You are such a good dog dad." I placed a folder on the table. "Sarah," I said, "Buster is at my apartment." Her smile faltered. "What?" "Buster. He is at my apartment. I picked him up from the rescue yesterday. The rescue he ended up at after you dumped him on the highway 6 months ago." The color drained from her face so fast she looked like a sheet of paper. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. "I know everything," I said. "I know you forged the vet bills. I know you scammed me out of $5,000. I know you left him to die." "I didn't," she stammered. He ran away. I was scared to tell you." "Stop," I said. "I have the intake form. You surrendered him. Or rather, you refused to claim him when they called you. And I have the confirmation from the vet that you forged the documents." She started to cry. It was the same performance she gave during the breakup. "Please," she sobbed. "I needed the money. I was behind on rent. I didn't mean to hurt him. I couldn't handle a dog. You have to understand." "I don't have to understand anything," I said. "Here is what is going to happen. You're going to transfer every single cent I sent you back to my account within 24 hours. If you do that, I will not go to the police for theft by deception and forgery." She nodded frantically. "Okay. Yes. I will. I promise." "And," I added, "you are going to delete your social media accounts." She froze. "What?" "Your brand. The Dog Mom Act. It is over. You delete it, or I post this." I tapped the folder. "I have a very compelling story written out. I have all the receipts. I think your followers would be very interested to know how you treat animals." "You can't do that," she hissed, her sadness instantly replaced by anger. "That is blackmail. That is my livelihood." "It is not blackmail," I said calmly. "I am giving you a choice. Return the stolen money, or face the consequences of the truth. The police report is already drafted. The lawsuit for civil damages is ready to be filed. The social media post is just the cherry on top. Choose." She stood up. She threw her latte on the ground. It splattered everywhere. People looked. "You are crazy," she said. "I will pay you the money. But I am not deleting anything. You are just bitter." She stormed out. I checked my account the next morning. The money was there. All $5,000. She thought that was the end of it. She thought she had bought my silence. She was wrong. I never promised I wouldn't post it if she paid me back. I said I wouldn't go to the police if she paid me back. I carefully worded that conversation. I am a man of my word regarding the law. But the court of public opinion? That is a different jurisdiction. I waited 1 week. I wanted the check to clear. I wanted to make sure the funds were secure. During that week, she posted a photo of a new puppy. A French bulldog. The caption read, "New addition to the family. Meet Luna. #dogmom #rescue. A French bulldog. A designer dog. She bought a puppy with the money she stole from me, or money she grifted from someone else. And she had the audacity to tag it #rescue. That was the breaking point. I posted the story. I posted it on my Facebook. I posted it on her Instagram comments. I posted it in the local community groups. I posted the side-by-side of her Buster is great texts next to the shelter intake forms. I posted the forged vet bills. I posted the picture of Buster looking skeletal at the shelter. The internet did what the internet does best. It went viral locally within hours. Then it spread. Her comments section turned into a war zone. People were dissecting her old photos, pointing out the inconsistencies I had missed. People found the breeder she bought the Frenchie from and exposed that it wasn't a rescue. She went private within 4 hours. She deleted her account within 24. But the real fallout happened offline. I found out later that she lost her job. Apparently, her employer, a boutique marketing agency, did not appreciate being associated with a known animal abuser and fraudster. The clinic she forged the documents from also caught wind of it. They were less forgiving than I was. They filed a police report for forgery and identity theft regarding the use of their letterhead. Last I heard, she had moved back in with her parents in another state. She is facing legal trouble from the vet clinic. She has no social media presence. As for Buster, he is sleeping at my feet right now as I write this. It has been 3 months since I got him back. He has gained 15 pounds. His coat is shiny again. The separation anxiety is getting better, though he still panics if I pick up my keys without telling him stay. We go for long walks. We play fetch. I bought him a new orthopedic bed. Every time I look at him, I feel a mix of rage and gratitude. Rage at what she did. Gratitude that the system glitched in just the right way to send me that email. There is a lesson here. If you break up with someone, get the custody agreement in writing. Verify the vet bills. And never, ever trust someone who uses a dog as a bargaining chip. Buster let out a sigh in his sleep just now and chased a dream rabbit with his paws. He is safe. That is all that matters. But I admit, watching her life implode was a very satisfying bonus. I sometimes wonder if she thinks about him. If she feels any guilt. But then I remember the look on her face when she said, "I needed the money." She doesn't feel guilt. She only feels regret that she got caught. I kept the folder. I keep it in my desk drawer. Just in case she ever tries to come back. Just in case she ever tries to get another dog and I need to warn a rescue. I am on the watch lists now. I volunteer with the local shelter network. I check the do not adopt lists. If I ever see her name pop up, I will be the first one to make the call. Because people like Sarah do not change. They just find new victims. But not on my watch. Not anymore. The most chilling part of this whole ordeal was finding out about the owner request, euthanasia note on the original intake. I called the shelter back a few weeks after getting Buster to ask about it. I wanted to know if she actually said those words. The officer dug up the notes. He read them to me. Woman stated dog was aggressive toward her nephew. Stated she could not keep him and did not want him rehomed because he was dangerous. Signed waiver for immediate euthanasia. She didn't just dump him. She tried to have him killed. She wanted him dead so there would be no loose ends. No chance of him popping up later. No chance of me finding him. She wanted to erase him from existence so she could keep collecting my money without the risk of discovery. The only reason he is alive is because the shelter worker who did the intake looked at Buster, who was cowering in the corner, licking the air in submission, and decided to ignore the owner's request. That worker put him on a stray hold instead of the euthanasia list. That worker saved his life. I went back and found that worker. His name is Mike. I brought him a bottle of whiskey and a card. I told him he is the reason my best friend is alive. Mike told me that people like Sarah are more common than you think. He called them convenience killers. People who treat animals like accessories that can be discarded when they go out of style or become inconvenient. It makes me sick. But we won. Buster is here. He is chewing on a squeaky hedgehog. He is happy. And Sarah? She is a ghost. I think about the alternate timeline sometimes. The one where I didn't get the email. The one where I kept sending money for years, paying for a ghost dog, while Buster rotted in a grave or a cage. It keeps me up at night. It makes me hold him tighter. If you are reading this, go hug your dog. Check your microchip information. And if you have an ex who is keeping your pet from you, demand a video call. Demand to see the dog in real time. Do not settle for photos. Do not settle for excuses. Trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. I am looking at the court summons on my desk. I decided to sue her anyway. Not for the money, I got that back. For the emotional distress. For the intentional infliction of pain. My lawyer says it is a long shot, but we might set a precedent. We might get a judge to acknowledge that what she did wasn't just property theft, but something deeper. Something crueler. I want it on the public record. I want a judgment against her name that will pop up on every background check for the rest of her life. I want every landlord, every employer, every future partner to know exactly who she is. She took my dog. She took my trust. She took my peace of mind. I took her future. Fair trade. I look at the clock. It is time for our evening walk. Buster knows. He is already standing by the door, tail wagging, eyes bright. He doesn't remember the cage. He doesn't remember the fear. Dogs are better than us that way. They forgive. They move on. I am not a dog. I don't forgive. And I don't forget. I clip the leash onto his collar. Let's go, buddy, I say. He barks. A happy, deep, full-throated bark. We walk out into the cool evening air. The city is loud, but I don't mind. I have my boy. And somewhere hundreds of miles away, Sarah is sitting in her parents' house, wondering where it all went wrong. She underestimated the bond between a man and his dog. She underestimated me. And that was her final mistake. The sidewalk is uneven, and Buster stumbles slightly. That old injury from his time on the streets flaring up. I slow down. We walk at his pace. I will always walk at his pace. I reach down and scratch him behind the ears. He leans into my leg. We are okay. I have spent a lot of time analyzing why she did it. Was it just the money? Was it malice? Was she jealous of how much I loved him? I think it was control. She wanted to control the narrative. She wanted to be the victim who was left with the big responsibility, the saint who took care of the invalid dog. She needed that story to feed her ego. The reality, that she was lazy and selfish, did not fit the script. So she rewrote reality. And when the dog became an inconvenience to her fiction, she tried to delete him. It is terrifying how easy it was for her. How smoothly she lied. But lies have a shelf life. The truth is patient. The truth waits for a microchip scanner to beep. The truth waits for an automated email server to run a batch process at 3 a.m. The truth always comes out. And when it does, it bites. I am thinking about getting Buster a friend. Maybe another rescue. Maybe a senior dog who needs a soft place to land. I have the space now. I moved out of the apartment. I rented a small house with a yard. A real yard. I did it for him. He is sniffing a fire hydrant now, taking his time. I wait. I have all the time in the world. I check my phone. A notification from my lawyer. Filing submitted. Court date set for next month. I smile. Game on. I put the phone away. I focus on the dog. Good boy, Buster, I say. Good boy. He looks up at me, tongue lolling out. He knows. He knows he is home. And this time, I am never letting him go. This experience changed me. It hardened me. I used to be the guy who gave everyone the benefit of the doubt. I used to think that if you loved someone, they wouldn't hurt you on purpose. I was naive. Now, I verify everything. I check receipts. I ask questions. I don't take people at their word when the stakes are high. Some people might say that is sad. That I have become cynical. Maybe. But my dog is alive because I stopped trusting and started verifying. So I will take the cynicism. It is a small price to pay. The wind picks up. Leaves skitter across the pavement. Buster chases one, his paws clicking on the concrete. He is clumsy, goofy, perfect. I remember the day I found him in that box. He was so small. He looked at me with these huge, terrified eyes. I promised him then that I would take care of him. I broke that promise when I let Sarah take him. I failed him. But I fixed it. I spent 6 months in hell so I could drag him out of his. And I would do it again. I would burn down the world 10 times over for this dog. Sarah never understood that. To her, he was an accessory. A prop for photos. A way to get likes. A way to get money. To me, he is family. And you don't mess with family. I hope she reads this someday. I hope someone sends it to her. I hope she sees exactly how much damage she caused, and exactly how little she gained from it. $5,000. That is what she sold her soul for. $5,000 and a few months of easy rent. It wasn't worth it, Sarah. It really wasn't. Buster stops to pee on a lamppost. I wait. A car drives by, music thumping. Life goes on. But for us, life has restarted. We have a second chance. I am not going to waste it. I plan to take him to the beach next week. He has never seen the ocean. I want to see him run in the sand. I want to see him bark at the waves. I want to give him every single good day he missed while he was locked in that cage, wondering why I hadn't come for him. I am making up for lost time. One day at a time. We turn the corner, heading back toward the house. The lights are on in the living room. It looks warm. Welcoming. It looks like home. I unlock the front door. Buster pushes past me, eager for his dinner. He dances around the kitchen while I scoop the kibble. The sound of the food hitting the metal bowl is the best sound in the world. He eats. I watch. This is it. This is the victory. Not the lawsuit. Not the money. Not the ruined reputation. This. A dog eating his dinner in a warm house, safe and loved. Everything else is just noise. But I will make sure the noise is loud enough that Sarah never forgets it. I pour myself a drink. I sit on the couch. Buster finishes eating and comes over. He rests his heavy head on my knee. I stroke his soft ears. "We got 'em, buddy," I whisper. He thumps his tail once. "Yeah, we did." The silence in the house is peaceful. No lies. No manipulation. Just me and the dog. It is enough. It is more than enough. The end. The phone on my desk vibrated against the mahogany, a harsh, buzzing intrusion into the silence of my home office. I stared at the screen. The number was not saved in my contacts, but the area code was local. I usually ignore unknown numbers, assuming them to be telemarketers or scams, but something about this specific vibration felt heavy. It felt like a premonition. I slid the icon to answer and held the device to my ear, saying nothing, waiting for the other line to speak first. "Dad." The voice was deeper than I remembered. It had a rougher texture, worn down by cheap cigarettes or perhaps just the grinding passage of time, but the inflection was unmistakable. It was the same inflection that used to ask for a glass of water at 2 in the morning. It was the same inflection that had screamed that he hated me 7 years ago. "Hello, Tyler," I said. My voice was steady. It surprised me how steady it was. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird, but my vocal cords were frozen in a block of ice. "I didn't think you would pick up," he said. There was a pause. "I really didn't think you would pick up." "I almost didn't," I replied. "Why are you calling?" "I need to see you," he said. The desperation was leaking through now, cracking the tough exterior he was trying to project. "I messed up, Dad. Mom, she's crazy. You were right. You were right about everything. I need help. Please." 7 years. 7 years of silence. 7 years of unreturned birthday cards, blocked numbers, and a void where my son used to be. And now, within 30 seconds, he was asking for help. "I am busy this week," I lied. I was retired. I had nothing but time. Please, he begged. Just coffee. Just 10 minutes. I don't know who else to call. They are going to take my truck. I just need someone to talk to. I closed my eyes. I remembered the day he left. I remembered the sneer on his face, a perfect replica of his mother's expression when she had served me divorce papers. I remembered the specific words he had used, designed to inflict maximum damage. But I also remembered the toddler who used to fall asleep on my chest while I watched football. Thursday, I said. 10 o'clock. The diner on 4th and Main. Don't be late. I hung up before he could say thank you. I set the phone down and looked out the window at the manicured lawn of the house I had bought with the money I no longer spent on child support and college tuition. I should have felt triumphant. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt a cold, clinical curiosity. I wanted to see what the product of Sarah's engineering looked like after the warranty had expired. To understand why I hung up that phone with shaking hands, you have to understand Sarah. And to understand Sarah, you have to understand how a man can be methodically dismantled, piece by piece, until he is convinced that he is the villain in his own life story. I met Sarah in our mid-20s. She was magnetic. That is the only word for it. She had a way of focusing her attention on you that made you feel like the only person in the room, the only person in the world who mattered. It was intoxicating. I was a junior accountant, quiet, diligent, and boring. She was in marketing, vibrant, loud, and colorful. We were the classic case of opposites attracting. I provided the stability she lacked. She provided the excitement I craved. The red flags were there, of course. They always are. We just paint them white when we are in love. I ignored how she talked about her ex-boyfriends. They were all crazy, all abusive, all obsessed with her. I ignored how she would give me the silent treatment for days if I disagreed with her on something trivial, like where to eat for dinner. I ignored how she slowly isolated me from my friends, making comments about how they didn't really respect me, or how they were holding me back. They just want to keep you down, Mark, she would say, running a hand through my hair. I am the only one who sees your true potential. And I believed her. God help me, I believed her. We got married 2 years later. Tyler came along a year after that. The first few years of Tyler's life were the happiest of mine. Sarah seemed to settle down into motherhood. She was fierce, protective, and loving. I was the doting father, working long hours to ensure we had the nice house in the suburbs, the SUV, the college fund. I thought we were a team. The shift happened when Tyler turned 5. I got a promotion that required more travel. Sarah resented it. She resented the time I spent away, even though the extra money was exactly what she demanded for the lifestyle she wanted. She started making comments in front of Tyler. Daddy loves his job more than he loves us, she would sigh, hugging Tyler close while I packed my suitcase. That is not true, Ty, I would say, kneeling down to look my son in the eye. Daddy works so we can have this house and go on vacations. I love you more than anything. Then why are you leaving? Tyler would ask, his eyes wide and confused. Because he has to, Sarah would answer for me, her voice dripping with martyrdom. Daddy has priorities. It was subtle at first. A drip here, a drop there. But water cuts through rock if given enough time. By the time Tyler was 10, the marriage was dead. The arguments were constant. Sarah had stopped working to be a full-time mom, which mostly involved lunch with friends and spending my paycheck. When I brought up the budget, I was controlling. When I asked her to curb the spending, I was abusive. When I suggested counseling, I was the one who needed fixing. I filed for divorce when I found the credit card statements she had been hiding. She had racked up $40,000 in debt in 6 months. When I confronted her, she didn't apologize. She screamed that I forced her to do it because I was so stingy with money. She threw a vase at my head. It shattered against the wall, an inch from my ear. That was the end of the marriage, but the beginning of the war. Sarah did not want a divorce. She wanted a demolition. She wanted to punish me for the audacity of leaving her. And her weapon of choice was Tyler. The custody battle was brutal. Sarah played the victim perfectly. She cried in mediation. She told the judge that I was emotionally unavailable, that I worked too much, that I had a temper. She didn't have proof, of course, because none of it was true, but she sowed enough doubt to make things difficult. In the end, I got standard visitation. Every other weekend and Wednesday nights. I thought that once we were separated, the toxicity would decrease. I thought that without me in the house to fight with, she would focus on Tyler and move on. I was naive. The alienation began in earnest the day I moved into my apartment. It was a 2-bedroom unit, nothing fancy, but I had set up Tyler's room with all his favorite things. Legos, posters, a gaming console. I was excited for his first weekend. I picked him up on Friday evening. He walked out to the car carrying a small duffel bag, his head down. He didn't run to me like he usually did. "Hey buddy," I said, reaching for a hug. He stiffened. "Hi Dad. Ready to see the new place?" I asked, trying to keep my voice cheerful. "Mom says it's in a bad neighborhood," he mumbled as he climbed into the passenger seat. I gripped the steering wheel. "It is perfectly safe, Ty. Mom is just worried. She cried all day," he said, staring out the window. "She said she's going to be all alone in that big house and she's scared." Guilt. That was her first hook. She made a 10-year-old boy feel responsible for her emotional well-being. She made him feel that by enjoying time with me, he was betraying her. Over the next few years, the visits became a battleground. Sarah would schedule fun activities on my weekends. "Oh Mark, I forgot it was your weekend. I bought Tyler tickets to the concert he wanted to see. I guess he can't go." So I had a choice. Be the bad guy who says no, or be the pushover who gives up his time. If I said no, Tyler resented me. If I said yes, I didn't see him. It was a lose-lose scenario. Then came the financial manipulation. I was paying significant child support and alimony. It was nearly half my take-home pay. I lived frugally so I could afford to take Tyler out when I had him. But to Tyler, I was the cheapskate. "Mom says you are rich," Tyler said one day when he was 12. We were at a diner, eating burgers. "She says you have a bunch of money hidden away, and that is why we can't afford a new car." "Tyler," I said, putting down my burger. "I pay Mom a lot of money every month. The court decided how much. It is fair." "She says you have a secret account," he insisted. "She says you care more about your bank balance than you care about us eating." "Is Mom not eating?" I asked, alarmed. "No, we eat," he rolled his eyes. "But we have to buy generic brands. It sucks. And you have this new car." "This is a company car, Ty. I don't own it." He didn't believe me. Sarah had planted the seed that I was hoarding resources while they suffered. The reality was that Sarah was blowing the support money on clothes and spa treatments while claiming poverty to our son. As he hit his teenage years, the tactics became more aggressive. She started rewriting history. "Remember when Dad missed your soccer championship when you were 8? She would remind him. "I missed that because I was in the hospital with pneumonia, Tyler," I would correct him. "Remember? You came to visit me." "Mom says you just had a cold and didn't want to drive in the rain," he would counter. "That is a lie," I would say, struggling to keep my temper. "Why would she lie?" he would shout. "She is the one who is there for me. You are just the weekend dad." The weekend dad. That label hurt. It dismissed every sacrifice I had made. It dismissed the fact that I was the one who paid for the soccer league, the one who bought the cleats, the one who stayed up late helping him with math homework over FaceTime because his mother couldn't be bothered. By the time he was 16, he barely spoke to me when he came over. He would retreat to his room, put on headphones, and play video games. If I tried to engage him, I got one-word answers. "How was school?" "Fine." "How is the girlfriend?" "Fine." "Want to go see a movie?" "No." I tried everything. I tried therapy, but Sarah refused to let him go, saying he didn't need it and that I was the one with the problem. I tried to talk to him about the dynamic, about parental alienation, but that backfired. "Stop trying to brainwash me," he screamed at me once when I tried to explain that his mother might be exaggerating things. "You are gaslighting me. Mom told me you would do this." She had inoculated him against the truth. She had warned him that I would try to manipulate him by telling him the reality of the situation. So when I spoke the truth, it just confirmed her lies. It was a masterclass in psychological warfare. The breaking point came when he was 18. It was time for college. I had a 529 plan set up. It wasn't enough for a private university, but it was enough for 4 years at the state university without debt. Tyler had his heart set on a private liberal arts college out of state. The tuition was astronomical. I can't afford that, Ty, I told him, looking at the brochure. The 529 covers state. If you go here, you will have to take out massive loans. Mom said you would say that, he sneered. She said you have the money, you just don't want to spend it on me. I showed you the accounts, Tyler. I showed you the court documents. I literally do not have that kind of money. You are a liar, he spat. You just want to control me. You want me to stay near you so you can keep making my life miserable. I want you to graduate debt-free, I argued. That is a gift, Tyler. A huge gift. I don't want your gift, he yelled. I don't want anything from you. Mom is going to co-sign the loans. She believes in me. Sarah has no income, I said, my voice rising. She can't co-sign those loans without using the alimony as proof, and that ends in 4 years. You are walking into a trap. Stop talking about her, he screamed. He stood up, knocking his chair over. I am 18 now. I don't have to come here anymore. I don't have to listen to your poison. Tyler, please. Just look at the numbers. I am done, he said. The look in his eyes was pure hatred. It wasn't teenage angst. It was deep, learned loathing. I am cutting you off. I don't want your money. I don't want your advice. And I definitely don't want a father like you. He stormed out of the apartment. I watched him go. I wanted to run after him, to grab him, to shake him until he saw reason. But I knew it was useless. He was gone. He had been gone for years. His body had just finally caught up. The next day, I received a text. Do not contact me. Do not come to my graduation. If you try to call me, I will get a restraining order. You are dead to me. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then, I typed a reply. I love you, Tyler. The door is always open. But I will respect your wishes. I didn't send it. I deleted it. Why? Because Sarah would see it. She would twist it. She would say I was harassing him. Instead, I typed, understood. And that was it. The silence began. The first year was the hardest. The silence in the apartment was deafening. I missed his graduation. I saw pictures on Facebook, posted by a mutual friend I hadn't blocked yet. Sarah was beaming, clinging to his arm. Tyler looked triumphant. There was no mention of me. No mention of the father who had changed his diapers, taught him to ride a bike, and funded the savings account that Sarah had likely drained to pay the deposit on that private college. I fell into a depression. I questioned everything. Maybe I was the problem. Maybe I had been too strict. Maybe I had worked too much. I replayed every argument, every interaction, looking for the smoking gun that proved I was the villain. But then, the fog began to lift. I started therapy for myself. A real therapist, not a mediator. You have been the victim of a smear campaign, Dr. Evans told me. You are mourning a living person. It is called ambiguous loss. And you are dealing with the trauma of emotional abuse. It took time, but I started to rebuild. I focused on my career. I was a senior partner now. The money I used to hemorrhage into Sarah's bank account started to pile up. The alimony ended 3 years after Tyler left. That was a glorious day. I remember drinking a glass of scotch and watching the sunset, knowing that for the first time in 2 decades, every cent I earned was mine. I sold the apartment and bought a house. A nice house. A house with a pool and a home theater. Not because I needed it, but because I could. I started traveling. I went to Italy, Japan, New Zealand. I met a woman named Elena. She was kind, independent, and had no interest in my money. She had grown kids of her own who respected her. Being around a functional family was a shock to my system. It highlighted just how sick my own dynamic had been. I stopped checking Sarah's social media. I stopped asking mutual friends about Tyler. I let go. I accepted that my son was a casualty of a war I hadn't wanted to fight. I accepted that he was an adult who had made a choice, even if that choice was based on lies. He had a brain. He had access to the world. He could have reached out. He could have fact-checked. He chose not to. Years 4, 5, and 6 were peaceful. I was happy. I had scars, sure, but they weren't bleeding anymore. Then came the phone call. Thursday morning arrived. I dressed carefully. A button-down shirt, casual blazer, jeans. I wanted to look good. Not flashy, but successful. Composed. I drove my car, a vintage Porsche I had restored as a retirement project, to the diner. I arrived 5 minutes early. I ordered a black coffee and sat in a booth near the back. I watched the door. At 10 o'clock sharp, the bell above the door chimed. A man walked in. It took me a moment to recognize him. Tyler looked older than 25. He was thinner, gaunt even. His hairline was receding slightly. He wore a faded flannel shirt and work boots that had seen better days. He looked tired. He looked like life had chewed him up and spit him out. He scanned the room, his eyes landing on me. For a second, I saw the boy again. The hesitation. The fear. Then he walked over and slid into the booth opposite me. "Dad," he said. "Tyler," I nodded. "You look." I stopped myself from saying terrible. "You look different." "Yeah, well. Life comes at you fast," he tried to smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. The waitress came over. He ordered a coffee and the Grand Slam breakfast. He looked hungry. "So," I said, folding my hands on the table. "Talk." He took a deep breath. "I don't know where to start." "Start with why you called me after 7 years of telling me I was dead to you," I suggested. My voice was calm, but the words were sharp. He flinched. "I deserved that. Look, I know I was a jerk. I was a kid. I didn't know anything. You were 18, Tyler. You were a legal adult." "I was stupid," he said, rubbing his face. "I listened to Mom. I believed everything she said. I thought you were the enemy." "And what changed?" He laughed, a bitter barking sound. "Living with her changed. After I graduated, well, I dropped out, actually." I didn't react. "Go on." "I dropped out after 2 years. The loans were piling up, and I couldn't keep up with the grades. I moved back in with Mom. It was a nightmare." I sipped my coffee. "How so?" She's impossible, Dad. Nothing is ever good enough. She spent all her money. The alimony ran out, and she lost her mind. She started demanding I pay rent, which is fine, but then she wanted me to pay for her car, her credit cards. She said I owed her for raising me." "Sounds familiar," I murmured. "She talks about you constantly," he continued. "It's obsessive. How you ruined her life. How you stole her youth. I started to see it. The patterns. She does the same thing to me that she did to you. If I don't do what she wants, I'm ungrateful. I'm abandoning her. She screams, she cries, she breaks things." "I am sorry you had to go through that," I said. And I was. I wouldn't wish living with Sarah on my worst enemy, let alone my son. "I moved out 6 months ago," he said. "I met a girl. Jessica. She's great. She opened my eyes. She heard how Mom talked to me and told me it wasn't normal. That it was abuse." "Jessica sounds smart." "She is. We are expecting, Dad." The air left the booth. A grandchild. I was going to be a grandfather. A surge of emotion hit me, joy, fear, longing. But I pushed it down. "Congratulations," I said neutrally. "Thanks. But we are in trouble. I work construction. It pays okay, but the debt, the student loans, the truck payments, the credit cards I maxed out helping Mom. We are drowning. We are 3 months behind on rent. They are threatening to repossess my truck. If I lose the truck, I lose the job. If I lose the job, we are homeless." He looked at me, tears welling in his eyes. "I didn't want to call you. I really didn't. I was ashamed. But I can't let my kid grow up in a shelter. I can't be a failure." I looked at him. I saw the desperation. I saw the genuine realization that his mother was a monster. I believed him. I believed that he was sorry. I believed that he had learned the hard way. "How much do you need?" I asked. He hesitated. To get current on everything? To stop the repo and pay the back rent? About $15,000. $15,000. I had that in my checking account right now. I could write a check and not even feel it. And then what? I asked. What happens next month? I'm up for a promotion, he said quickly. And Jessica is going to go back to work after the baby comes. We just need a reset. A clean slate. Please, Dad. I want you to be in the baby's life. I want to fix this. There it was. The hook. I want you to be in the baby's life. He was offering me access to my grandchild in exchange for a bailout. It wasn't malicious, perhaps. He probably genuinely wanted a relationship. But the timing, the transaction, it felt like Sarah. I looked at my son. I remembered the text. You are dead to me. I remembered the years I spent staring at the ceiling, wondering if he was alive. I remembered the therapy sessions where I had to learn to forgive myself for things I hadn't done. I remembered everything. Tyler, I said softly, do you remember my birthday 5 years ago? He blinked, confused by the shift. What? No. I sent you a card. It had a check in it for $500. It was sent back to me, ripped in half, with "fuck you" written on the envelope. He looked down at the table. Mom did that. I mean, I watched her do it. I didn't stop her. You were 20 years old, I said. You watched your mother tear up a gift from your father and mail it back with a curse. I know. I'm sorry. And do you remember when I had surgery on my back 3 years ago? I was in the hospital for a week. Complications. I heard about that. You didn't call. Mom said you were faking it for attention. I almost died, Tyler. I had a pulmonary embolism. I was in the ICU. My lawyer contacted you to let you know, just in case. You told him to lose your number. I was angry, he whispered. No, I said. You were indoctrinated. But you were also an adult. You had a smartphone. You could have Googled pulmonary embolism. You could have called the hospital. You chose not to. I leaned forward. I forgive you, Tyler. I really do. I forgive you for the silence. I forgive you for the hate. I know where it came from. Hope flared in his eyes. So, you'll help. I didn't say that. I pulled out my wallet. I took out $100 bill and placed it on the table. This is for breakfast, I said. Keep the change. Dad. Panic rose in his voice. Dad, please. I'm drowning. You are drowning because you jumped into the ocean with weights tied to your ankles, I said. I tried to cut the rope when you were 18. I tried to show you the map. You spit in my face and jumped in anyway. I was a kid. You were a man who made a choice to hurt his father to please his mother. And now, you are a man in trouble. If I give you this money, Tyler, I am not helping you. I am teaching you that you can treat people like garbage for years, and then when you need something, you can just say sorry, and everything is fixed. That is what your mother does. That is how she lives. If I bail you out, I am turning you into her. He stared at me, his mouth open. You're refusing? You're going to let your grandchild be homeless. You won't be homeless, I said calmly. There are shelters. There are programs. You are young, able-bodied, and you work in construction. You can work double shifts. You can sell things. You can figure it out. That is what adults do. You have the money, he shouted. People in the diner turned to look. You're just being a spiteful old prick. Maybe, I said, standing up. Or maybe I am finally respecting your wishes. You wanted to be independent of me. You wanted me out of your life. You succeeded. I can't believe this, he seethed. Mom was right about you. You are heartless. And there it was. The mask slipped. The remorse vanished, replaced by the entitlement and rage that Sarah had cultivated so carefully. As soon as he didn't get what he wanted, I was the villain again. Give Jessica my best, I said. Tell her that if she ever wants to leave, I will pay for her divorce lawyer. But for you? You are on your own, son. I walked out of the diner. I didn't look back. I heard him shouting something behind me, but the bell on the door cut off his voice as it closed. I got into my Porsche. My hands were shaking again, but this time, it wasn't from fear. It was from adrenaline. It was from the release of a heavy burden. I sat there for a moment, breathing in the smell of the leather interior. I felt a pang of sadness for the grandchild I might never know. That was the real tragedy here. The innocent life caught in the crossfire of generational trauma. But as I put the car in gear, I realized something. I couldn't save everyone. I had spent 20 years trying to save Tyler from his mother, and I had failed. I had almost drowned trying to keep him afloat. I wasn't going to drown again. I drove home. I had a date with Elena that night. We were going to the symphony. I needed to pick up my suit from the cleaners. I had a life. A good life. A life I had built from the ashes of the one Sarah had burned down. Tyler had a hard road ahead of him. Maybe he would figure it out. Maybe hitting rock bottom would finally break the programming. Maybe he would be a better father than he was a son. I hoped so. I truly did. But that was his story to write. I had turned the page on that chapter. I arrived home and walked into my study. I looked at the empty space on the bookshelf where the photo albums used to be. The albums filled with pictures of a smiling boy who loved Legos and his dad. I had put them in storage years ago. I didn't take them out. I sat down at my desk and opened my laptop. I had an email from my financial advisor. My investments were up. I smiled. Then, I opened a new document. I started typing. I wrote down everything that had just happened. I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. So I wouldn't doubt myself when the guilt crept in at 3 a.m. My adult son cut me off after his mom turned him against me. Years later he begged for help, but I remembered everything. I remembered the pain. I remembered the loneliness. I remembered the disrespect. And most importantly, I remembered that I was worth more than being an ATM for people who despised me. I closed the laptop. The silence in the house was no longer empty. It was peaceful. The phone rang again. It was Tyler. I watched the screen light up. I watched the name dance across the pixels. I didn't decline the call. I didn't block the number. I simply let it ring until it stopped. The aftermath of that diner meeting was not quiet. Just as I had predicted, the silence I chose to maintain was met with a storm of noise from the other side. 2 days after the diner, the text messages started. How can you sleep at night? You are punishing an unborn child for my mistakes. I hope you rot with all your money. I read them. I didn't reply. They were painful, yes. No father wants to read that his son hates him. But they also validated my decision. His reaction to no was abuse. That was the language Sarah spoke. If I had given him the money, the abuse would have just been delayed until the next time he needed something, and I said no. A week later, I got a call from my sister, Linda. Linda was the one family member who had tried to stay neutral, mostly so she could keep seeing Tyler. Mark, she said, her voice strained. Tyler called me. I assume he did, I said, pouring a glass of wine. Elena was in the kitchen making risotto. The smell of garlic and butter filled the house, a stark contrast to the toxicity on the phone. He told me you laughed in his face, Linda said. He said you mocked his poverty. I gave him $100 for breakfast and wished him luck, I corrected. I told him I wouldn't enable him. He's desperate, Mark. They're going to evict him. Then he should get a second job. Or sell the truck and buy a beater. Or move into a smaller apartment. Or, here is a thought, ask his mother for help. You know Sarah doesn't have any money. That isn't my problem, Linda. Sarah spent 20 years poisoning that well. She doesn't get to complain that the water is toxic. But the baby. The baby is innocent, I agreed. And if Child Protective Services gets involved, I will step in. I will foster the child. I will adopt the child. But I will not give cash to a drug addict, and I will not give cash to a man addicted to his mother's drama. It's the same thing. Linda was silent. She knew I was right. She had seen what Sarah did to me. She had seen the hollow shell I was 7 years ago. He's organizing a GoFundMe, she whispered. He posted a story. It paints you in a really bad light. Let him, I said. The people who matter know the truth. The people who believe him don't matter. I hung up. I went into the kitchen and wrapped my arms around Elena. She leaned back into me. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Just ghosts," I said, trying to rattle the chains. "Do we need an exorcist?" she joked. "No," I kissed her cheek. "Just a strong lock on the door." The GoFundMe was a work of fiction that would have made Sarah proud. Abandoned by wealthy father, struggling to make ends meet, just want to give my baby a chance. It raised about $400. Most people see through that kind of vagueness. The few who donated were probably Sarah's flying monkeys, the friends she had managed to keep by feeding them lies about her victimhood. I didn't comment on it. I didn't report it. I just let it exist. 3 months later, I received a letter. It wasn't from Tyler. It was from Jessica. The envelope was pink. The handwriting was neat, cursive loops that spoke of someone who tried hard to make things look nice. "Dear Mr. Thompson, I don't know if you will read this. Tyler told me not to write. He is very angry with you. But I need to say something. I grew up in foster care. I know what it's like to have no parents. I thought Tyler was lucky to have a mom who loved him so much. But living with Sarah, I see it now. It's not love. It's ownership. Tyler told me what happened at the diner. He told me you were cruel. But he also told me what you said about enabling. And he told me about the money you sent back then, the money Sarah tore up. He didn't want to tell me that part. It slipped out when we were fighting about rent. I asked him why you hated him, and he yelled, he tried to buy me off before, and told me about the check. Mr. Thompson, I don't think you are a monster. I think you are hurt. And I think Tyler is lost. We lost the truck. Tyler is working double shifts at a warehouse now. We moved into a studio apartment. It's small, but it's ours. We cut contact with Sarah. We had to. She demanded money we didn't have, and when we said no, she told Tyler he was useless just like his father. That woke him up a little, I think. I'm not asking for money. I just wanted you to know that the baby is a boy. We are naming him Leo. And I promise you, I won't let Sarah near him. I won't let that poison touch my son. Maybe one day, things can be different. Sincerely, Jessica. I sat with that letter for a long time. It was the first crack of light in a very dark room. Tyler had lost the truck. He was struggling. But he was working. He had cut off Sarah. He had defended himself against the label of useless like his father. It wasn't a redemption arc yet. It was just the prologue to one. I didn't reply to Jessica. Not yet. It was too soon. Tyler needed to stand on his own 2 feet. He needed to realize that he could survive without Sarah and without me. He needed to become his own man. But I did take the photo albums out of storage. I put one on the bookshelf. Just one. A picture of me and Tyler at the beach, building a sandcastle. The tide was coming in, threatening to wash it away, but we were laughing, frantically digging a moat to save it. We couldn't stop the tide back then. The ocean always wins. But maybe, just maybe, we could build something new further up the shore. 6 months later, Leo was born. Linda sent me a picture. He looked like Tyler. He had my chin. I opened a trust fund for Leo that day. I put $50,000 in it. It is locked until he is 25. Tyler doesn't know about it. Sarah definitely doesn't know about it. Nobody knows except me, my lawyer, and the bank. It is my insurance policy against the past. If Tyler fails, if the cycle repeats, if the history of manipulation and financial ruin tries to claim another generation, there will be a lifeline. A secret weapon waiting in the future. I am not the hero of this story. I am not the villain. I am just a survivor. I survived a marriage that tried to destroy my identity. I survived the loss of my son. And I survived the temptation to buy his love back when he returned. That was the hardest part. The temptation to be the savior. To write the check and play the benevolent patriarch. But that would have been about my ego, not his growth. Real love isn't about fixing people's problems for them. It's about letting them face the consequences of their actions, so they can learn to fix themselves. It is the most painful thing a parent can do. To watch your child struggle when you have the power to stop it. But I remembered everything. I remembered the boy who accused me of gaslighting him because I told him the truth. I remembered the young man who called me a liar for showing him bank statements. I remembered the stranger in the diner who tried to manipulate me with a grandchild. I had to let that version of Tyler die. I had to let him burn in the fire of his own choices so that a real man could rise from the ashes. It has been 2 years since the diner. I haven't seen Tyler. But Linda tells me he is doing better. He is a manager at the warehouse now. They moved into a 2-bedroom apartment. He hasn't spoken to Sarah in 18 months. Apparently, Sarah is now telling everyone that Tyler abandoned her, just like I did. She is playing the victim to a new audience. But her audience is shrinking. Her looks are fading, and her charm is wearing thin. The truth has a way of catching up to people like Sarah. It just takes time. Slow, agonizing time. Last week, I received a birthday card. It was cheap store-bought. The front had a generic picture of a sailboat. Inside, there was no money. No request for help. Just handwriting. Happy birthday, Dad. We are doing okay. Leo is walking. Tyler. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't a request for a meeting. It was just a statement of fact. A proof of life. I put the card on the mantelpiece next to the photo of the sandcastle. I didn't call him. I sent a text. Thanks for the card. Glad to hear you are doing well. Happy to see pictures of Leo if you want to share. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Maybe soon. That was enough. I turned off my phone. Elena was calling me from the patio. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the lawn. The air was cool and crisp. I walked outside, leaving the ghosts in the study. I had paid the cost of silence. It was a high price, the highest I had ever paid. But as I looked at the peace I had built, at the woman who loved me for who I was, at the life that belonged solely to me, I knew it was worth it. Some bridges have to be burned so you don't find your way back to the places that killed you. And sometimes, if you stand in the smoke long enough, you can see the outline of a new path through the haze. I am walking that path. And for the first time in a long time, I am not looking back. The story ends here, but life doesn't. There are no neat bows, no perfect resolutions. Just days turning into nights and the slow, steady work of healing. If you are reading this, and you are the villain in someone's story because you refuse to let them destroy you, hold the line. Remember the truth. Remember the receipts. Remember who you are when nobody is watching. And never, ever let them rewrite your history. Because in the end, your memory is the only thing they can't take away from you. I remembered everything. And that is what saved me. Now, let's go back. Let's dig deeper into the years that created the silence. Because to simply say, we drifted apart, is a lie. It wasn't a drift, it was a carefully orchestrated severance. When Tyler was 14, the Disneyland dad accusation started. This is a common trope in divorces, but Sarah inverted it. Usually, the non-custodial parent is the fun one because they have less time and want to maximize enjoyment. Sarah, however, painted my attempts at fun as bribery. I remember taking him to a baseball game. Box seats, hot dogs, the works. I had saved for 2 months for those tickets. Did you have fun? I asked on the drive home. Yeah, he said, texting. But Mom says you're only doing this because you feel guilty. Guilty about what? About leaving us. About breaking up the family. Tyler, I didn't leave you. The marriage ended. Those are different things. She says you bought these tickets to buy my love, so I wouldn't hate you for what you did to her. I pulled the car over. I turned off the engine. Look at me, I said. He sighed, putting the phone down. What? I bought these tickets because I love baseball and I love you, and I wanted to share that with you. That is it. There is no hidden agenda. Whatever, he said. Can we go? Mom's making lasagna. She had managed to taint the experience before it even finished. She had whispered in his ear that my love was transactional. So every gift became a bribe. Every trip became a manipulation. Every hug became a lie. By the time he was 15, I stopped trying to do big things. We watched movies at home. We cooked dinner. I tried to just be there. But that was wrong too. It's so boring at your house, he complained to Sarah. I know this because I read it on his iPad that he left unlocked. Sarah, I know, baby. He's a boring man. He doesn't know how to have fun. He just wants to control you. Just endure it. You'll be home soon. Tyler, I hate it here. He makes me do homework. Sarah, that's because he wants you to be a worker drone like him. I want you to be a creative spirit. Don't let him crush your soul. Crush his soul. By making him do algebra. I took screenshots. I sent them to my lawyer. Can we do anything? I asked. Unless she is physically abusing him or neglecting him, the courts won't care about badmouthing, the lawyer said. It's hearsay. It's parenting style. If you fight this, you'll spend 50 grand and the judge will just tell you both to communicate better. So I swallowed it. I swallowed the bile and the rage. I tried to be the worker drone example. I showed him my spreadsheets. I showed him how compound interest works. I tried to teach him the value of $1. Money is energy, I told him. You trade your life energy for it. So when you spend it, you should respect it. You're obsessed with money, he scoffed. Mom says you worship it. I respect it because it keeps a roof over our heads. It puts food on the table. Mom says the universe provides. The universe is not paying the mortgage, Tyler. I am. That's because you have bad karma, he said. A 15-year-old boy telling his father he has bad karma because he pays the bills. It was laughable, but it wasn't funny. Sarah had gotten into spirituality around that time. Crystals, manifestations, energy vortices. It was her new excuse for financial irresponsibility. She didn't have debt, she had blocked abundance. I was the negative energy blocking her flow. And Tyler, impressionable and wanting to please the parent he lived with 80% of the time, adopted the language. The car incident, when he was 16, was pivotal. He wanted a car. A specific car. A brand new Jeep Wrangler. I can't afford a $30,000 car for a first driver, Ty, I said. I found a nice Honda Civic. 5 years old, low miles, safe. A Civic? He looked at me like I had offered him a tricycle. Mom drives a Mercedes. Mom leases a Mercedes she can't afford, I wanted to say. But I didn't. A Civic is a great car. I drove a beater until I was 30. I'm not driving a loser car, he said. Then you are walking, I said. He called Sarah. She picked him up an hour later. 2 days later, he pulled up to my apartment in a Jeep Wrangler. It was 10 years old, lifted, with massive tires. It looked like a death trap. Mom got it for me, he beamed. She traded in her jewelry. She hadn't traded in jewelry. I found out later she had taken out a predatory high-interest loan in her name, using the car as collateral. The interest rate was 24%. It's a cool car, I admitted, looking at the rusted undercarriage. But the tires are bald, Tyler. And the brakes sound soft. You just hate it because you didn't buy it, he snapped. You're jealous. I am worried about your safety. You're worried about your control, he corrected me. 3 months later, the transmission on the Jeep blew. It was a $3,000 repair. Tyler called me. Dad, the Jeep died. I'm sorry to hear that. I need $3 grand to fix it. I don't have $3 grand for a car repair, Ty. I offered you the Civic. It had a warranty. You have to help me. How will I get to school? Take the bus. Or ask Mom. Mom doesn't have the money. Then maybe Mom shouldn't have bought a car she couldn't afford to maintain. You are such a dick, he screamed and hung up. The Jeep sat in Sarah's driveway for 6 months, rusting. Tyler took the bus. And every morning, waiting at the bus stop, he blamed me. Not the lemon car. Not his mother's bad purchase. Me. Because I had the power to fix it, in his mind, and chose not to. That resentment calcified. It turned into the bedrock of his hatred. I think about that Jeep often. It was a perfect metaphor for our relationship. Sarah bought the flashy, broken thing to win his favor, and when it inevitably fell apart, I was expected to pay the bill. And when I refused, I was the villain. It's a perfect system. The narcissist gets the glory of the gift and the victimhood of the failure. The rational parent gets the bill or the blame. There is no winning. The only winning move is not to play. But how do you not play when the pawn is your son? I played until the board was flipped. I remember the final parent-teacher conference I attended. Senior year. Tyler was failing history and math. The teacher, Mrs. Gable, looked concerned. "Tyler is bright," she said. "But he's disengaged. He sleeps in class. And when he is awake, he is angry." Sarah wasn't there. She had a migraine, a spa day. "I try to help him with homework," I said. "But he refuses to bring his books to my house." "He mentions his mother a lot," Mrs. Gable said carefully. "He wrote an essay about heroism. He wrote about her. About how she survived a tyrannical marriage and raised him alone." I felt the blood drain from my face. Tyrannical. "It was vivid," she said. "Mr. Thompson, I don't know the dynamics at home, but that boy carries a lot of weight on his shoulders. He feels he has to protect her." "Protect her from what?" "From the world. From you. From reality." Parentification. That was the clinical term. Sarah had turned her son into her emotional husband. He was her confidant, her protector, her warrior. It is a heavy burden for a child. No wonder he was failing math. He was too busy holding up his mother's fragile ego. I went home that night and cried. I cried for the boy who wrote that essay. I cried because I knew that in his narrative, I was the dragon. And you don't make peace with dragons. You slay them. That was why the cutoff was inevitable. To be the hero in his mother's story, he had to slay me. The estrangement wasn't a tantrum, it was a quest completion. When he walked out of my life at 18, he probably felt a sense of triumph. He had finally cast out the oppressor. He had saved the queen. It must have been so confusing for him when the happily ever after didn't start. When the dragon was gone, but the castle was still crumbling. When the oppressor was banished, but the bills still weren't paid. When he was alone with the queen, and realized she was a tyrant herself. I wonder when the first crack appeared. Was it when she asked him for rent money from his minimum wage job? Was it when she criticized his girlfriend? Was it when she refused to co-sign a lease because her credit was shot? I will never know the details. And I don't need to. The outcome is what matters. He escaped. He is wounded, limping, and scarred, but he escaped. And I am here. Still standing. The silence in my house is not empty anymore. It is full of potential. I have rewritten my own story. I am not the villain. I am not the victim. I am just a man who loved his son enough to let him go, and respected himself enough not to let him back in under false pretenses. The phone on my desk is silent now. The vibration is gone. The sun has set completely. I turn off the lamp. I walk out of the office. I am free. And for the first time in a long time, I think Tyler might be too. Even if he hates me for it. Sometimes, being the villain is the only way to save the hero. If that is the role I must play to ensure his independence, then so be it. I will wear the black hat. I will be the cautionary tale. Because I love him. And because I remember everything.